J49er, Dean responds. You guys know who's going to be going first in this debate?
Yeah, so I guess he didn't tell me, so I guess Jay will just go first because he's in the affirmative.
Correct. Okay. All right, Jay.
How long are openings? So how long do you want me to put the timing for?
17-minute opener for each.
17 minutes.
Then we'll move on to 10-minute rebuttal. But we'll talk about it as we go. So 17-minute openers. And you guys make sure you tap that screen, man. Share it live. This is it's gonna be very educational. Both of these debaters are top tier, so yeah, make sure you guys share it live, man. And we'll get started whenever you're ready. We don't have to wait. I know we got about 5 minutes. Because the openers are going to be a little bit more extended. We can start now if you guys are ready. So Jay, just let Leafy know when to start the time, and we'll get you guys underway.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So as soon as you start speaking, he'll start the timer.
Okay.
When you're ready, let me know.
Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm in a very strange position. I'm on Team Allah, and my Muslim opponent is not. The Quran warns us about people who distort Allah's words for a small gain, and today that is exactly what my opponent will do. He will run away from Allah's clear words to use ad hoc dawah reinterpretations instead of the Quran itself. But no worries, today I'll be on Team Allah and I'll stay with the Quran. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this debate has actually already won before it started. My opponent will walk in claiming general confirmation, conscious edits, and a dozen improvised doctrines the Quran never teaches. That alone ends the debate, because by doing so, he breaks every rule of the internal critique. This is a modified internal critique debate. Let me show you why his case collapses. And internal critique has one job. You must defend your worldview using only what your text actually says, not imagination, not possibilities, not later inventions. My opponent will say, Allah does not say he will consciously edit. He consciously edits without declaring it. Now, this destroys his own argument, because as soon as he appeals to an unstated, undeclared, hidden process, he is inventing doctrine that doesn't exist in Quran. And internal critique means I temporarily grant you scripture. I test whether your own system contradicts itself. If you add new doctrines to plug the holes, the critique stands and you lose. Rule 1, no new assumptions. You cannot insert beliefs the Quran never states. Forbidden moves would be general confirmation means partial confirmation. The actual Injil is only red letters and some parts that agree with my book. Allah conscientiously edits the scripture but never tells us. None of that exists in the Quran or early Islamic sources. Rule 2 he'll break is by redefining terms. You can't change definitions. Some of the examples he'll come up with is redefining musaddiq as into general confirmation, which just means confirm. Redefining between his hands into something that used to exist. Redefining they have the Torah into they used to have it before corruption. Redefinition is rule violation. Rule 3, no ad hoc escapes. Your explanation must be less forced, more consistent, and more faithful to the system. Saying the Quran confirms the Torah and conscientiously edits it is more ad hoc than admitting there's a contradiction. Therefore, the contradiction stands. No external, number of rule 4 is no external authorities. You can't defend Islam using the Bible, secular historians, later doctrines that were invented centuries after Muhammad. Rule 5, no hiding behind mystery. You can't say, we don't know what Allah meant. The Quran is ambiguous. Only scholars understand this. If the contradiction comes straight from the text, ambiguity doesn't solve it. My opponent's entire case, general confirmation, partial confirmation, conscious edits, or the Injil stands only in meaning, violates every one of these rules, guys. So pay attention to that. Deen's position is that the Torah in the Quran sometimes refers to what was originally given to Moses, sometimes it refers to general Jewish scriptures they possessed. Injil refers to the sayings of Jesus found within the 4 Gospels. Both the Torah and the Injil were preserved only in meaning, okay, not in exact wording. Both were corrupted before Islam, and after Islam they remain corrupted, but lo behold, there is still enough truth in them to guide someone towards Islam. And when you must rewrite your own scripture just to survive the argument, you've already conceded the debate. Watch out for all of that. All right, the Islamic dilemma has 2 horns. Allah says the Torah and the Injil are his revelation, guidance, and light, to be judged, present, and authoritative in Muhammad's time, respected and praised in 123 verses of the Quran, folks. 123 times the author of the Quran expresses a vocal love affair with the previous scripture. He praises them He honors our previous scripture. He rebukes Muslims and Jews and Christians who do not follow them. He's loud, he's emotional, he's very expressive about his approval. But when we read the previous scriptures themselves, that's your second horn. The Quran contradicts their core doctrines. The deity of the Christ, the Trinity, the crucifixion, the resurrection, so on and so forth. So here is the dilemma. Why does the author loudly confirm what he quietly contradicts? There are only two options. The scriptures are true, then Islam is false. The scriptures are false. The author lied about confirming them, making Islam false. There is no third option. He will try to come up with a brand new doctrine on that. This is the Islamic dilemma. You're going to hear my opponent argue that the Quran does not absolutely confirm the Bible. It conscientiously edits parts of the Torah and Injil. He will say things like, the author of the Quran knows the content of the previous scriptures. He sees details in those scriptures that he agrees with. He changes those details deliberately. Therefore, the Quran confirmation is general, not total. Some parts of the Bible are true, some are false, and the Quran is correcting the false part. He will stress that he's not presupposing the Quran is divine. He is simply saying the author of the Quran edits the Bible because he believes certain details in it are wrong. That is his framework of his entire argument to escape the Islamic dilemma. Confirmation, but only parts that the Quran agrees with. My response is going to be clear. I'm going to say to him, no, that's your claim, not mine. I'm not saying the Quran admits to edits or that the author of the Quran intentionally changed the scriptures. That is his position, not mine. Here's my position. The Quran claims to confirm the previous scriptures, but contradicts what it claims to confirm. That contradiction is the dilemma. He'll switch to asking, does the author of the Quran then conscientiously contradict or intends to contradict the previous scripture? The answer is still going to be no, Deen. Stop asking. Nowhere does he ever say he intends to do it. My opponent will say, Allah does not say he will conscientiously edit. He conscientiously edits it without declaring. Again, this destroys his own argument, because as soon as he appeals to an unstated, undeclared, hidden process, he's inventing a doctrine that does not exist in the Quran. You do not get to invent unstated premises inside the Quran to solve contradictions. The internal critique requires you to show the claim from your own text, not from your imagination. If the Quran never says the Bible was edited, never says Allah secretly corrected it, never says Allah revealed a partial Injil, never says Allah preserved some parts and discarded others, then every one of his claims is ad hoc and therefore invalid in an internal critique. Throughout this debate, he will desperately try to get us to agree that there was a conscious and an intentional act done by the author. My position is and will remain crystal clear. If the Quran intended to correct the Bible, it would say so, but it never does. Instead, it repeatedly commands Jews and Christians to judge by what is with them, and even tells Muhammad to consult them. A perfect analogy for him would be, it's like a student, imagine that, who never read a book, claims I agree with everything in that book, then gets the basic facts wrong on the test. In comes Deen, and he would say, oh, he's fixing the book. And the rest of us will say, no, he doesn't know the book. He's contradicting it because he's ignorant of it. Conscious edits requires consciousness of the original. The Quran displays ignorance, not correction. Instead, it recycles distorted versions from late Jewish and Christian legends. The clay bird miracle of Jesus is not from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. It's from 2nd and 4th century heretical gospels, infancy gospel of Thomas. Muhammad thought it was scripture. He said the Quran only edits biblical stories according to his conscious edits on all these other lives I've got him recorded. But when the Quran copies stories from infancy gospel of Thomas, which Judaism and Christianity considered fictional, that proves Muhammad wasn't correcting the scripture. He was repeating whatever folklore was circulating. That destroys your entire conscious edit theory. That's not a correction, that's confusion. Confusion is what your Quran is. The Quran talks like a confirmer, acts like a corrupter in here. His narrative assumes that the Quranic author read the Bible and said, those parts are wrong and I'll fix them. But what we really see is a statement of confirmation, and content of contradiction. If the author wanted to say this, folks, I only confirm true parts and correct the rest, he would have said it clearly. He didn't. Deen wants everyone to believe that the author of the Quran only meant partial confirmation, yet that same author uses the verb yasaddiq, aka confirming, 19 separate times. 19 times. If the Quranic author intended to say some parts yes, some parts no, he had precise Arabic vocabulary available to make that distinction unmistakable. He could have removed all ambiguity, but he didn't, not even once. He'll break rule number 3, no redefining of terms under the internal critique clause, when he'll have the audacity to ask us to ignore the definition of the word general, which is attesting to all, majority, and major themes of something, i.e. the previous scriptures in this case. Now to accept his, what I call a cockamania self-declared redefinition of the word general to be specific confirmation. So the question stands, why does he consistently, the author of the Quran, use the strongest form of complete affirmation 19 times, yet Muslims keep insisting he really meant partial confirmation? He wants us to believe that the author, who repeatedly expresses a vocal love affair with the previous scriptures in the Quran, as we see documented in a mind-boggling 123 verses of the Quran, folks. In 123 verses of the Quran, he's having an emotional, vocal love affair with the previous scriptures, where he speaks of the previous scriptures in highly respectful, glorious, laudatory terms. And at the same time, where he is also not shy to express the same emotional, vocal anger towards the followers who do not adhere to those scriptures verse by verse. To now suddenly becoming a cold-hearted and mute author who edits out all major themes in the Bible, wiping out all those theological fundamentals in the very same books he has expressed an absolute love affair with. Deen, that is an incoherent argument. Deen wants us to ignore the love, the praise, the commands, the emotional intensity, the clear Quranic affirmation, and instead trust a first-time ever 2025 TikTok Dawah reinterpretation that disrespectfully writes the Quran's author as now being the best of deceivers. Best of deceivers, folks. Dane, don't tell me that the author praises a book 120 times just so a TikTok apologist like you can correct him in a live stream. My man, that's not scholarship. So woe to Deen, who writes the scripture with his own hands and then says this is from Allah in order to exchange it for a small price of paid subscribers. Woe to them for what their hands have written, and woe to them for what they have earned. And Deen, this doesn't mean you corrupted the Quran. Don't worry. Ladies and gentlemen, a book that contradicts what it claims to confirm is not correcting, it's wrong. That's the Islamic dilemma. There's no escape. He'll say we'll affirm what agrees with Islam, we reject what contradicts it. He'll insist this general confirmation is not a contradiction, and he'll probably cite examples like monotheism, prophets being persecuted, or stories about Moses and Noah, saying those are reoccurring themes Islam agrees with. His strategy is simple: downgrade the confirmation from textual claim to a thematic similarity claim, or in meaning only, like he says. So the contradictions don't matter anymore. But friends, that's not general confirmation, that's selective validation. And when when asked for a criteria, he'll admit a Muslim only knows what's true based on what the Quran and Hadith explicitly affirm. That means whatever is in agreement with the Quran is good, whatever is in disagreement is corruption. In other words, whatever fits Islam is true. I expect him to say it's not circular, we're just checking what aligns. But that's exactly the circle. You start by assuming the Quran is true. You then use it to decide which parts of the Bible are authentic. Then you claim those same parts prove the Quran. That's a closed loop, not an argument. It's theology eating its own tail. He'll then try to appeal to Matthew 23, claiming that Jesus generally confirmed the Pharisees' teaching that's supposed to mirror how the Quran generally confirms the Bible. But that analogy collapses immediately. Firstly, he breaks rule number 4 and brings in external authority. Remember, internal critique is going to start shifting on us. In Matthew 23, the Greek word epion means to say or recite. Jesus was saying, when they recite from the Moses seat, do what they recite, but don't do what they do. He was limiting, not generalizing. He was affirming the Pharisees wholesale. He wasn't affirming the Pharisees wholesale. He was qualifying their authority when they read the Torah accurately. If the Quran had something similar to this, where we could have seen spoken words that say, we are confirming what is true and rejecting what is false, we would have had a consistent text, folks, but it doesn't. It keeps repeating, confirm, 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 confirm. So the analogy actually undercuts his case. By the way, the Islamic dilemma, Deen, is an argument even an atheist can run. So quit running to the Bible, explaining away the contradictions. I will ignore it every time you do so in this debate. Now, he'll quote maybe chapter 5, verse 48, confirming what's between their hands and a guardian Muhammad over it. He'll cite Nicholas Sinai, maybe he'll bring that in, claiming it means that the Quran has authority over the previous scriptures. Again, he'll bring some other authority from outside, breaking the rules of internal critique. But here's what he'll omit. Sinai himself said that this stronger reading depends on a variant that is not orthodox. He calls it a possibility, not a meaning. This is going to be yet another pattern in the debate. He will misuse scholarships over and over again and break rule number 4. No external authorities. In other debates, when I've seen him, when people press him on contradictions, for example, the crucifixion, he'll say, we can use historical critical method. We accept only the sayings of Jesus that are historically certain and those that don't contradict Islam. Those that don't contradict Islam. He'll break the rule number 1, no new assumptions. Rule number 3, no ad hoc escape of the internal critical rule. But even so, that's not a critical method. That's circular filtering. The same historical method he appeals to says, overwhelmingly, Jesus predicted his death and resurrection. Overwhelming the number of historical scholars across the board acknowledge the crucifixion. When confronted with that consensus, Deen will reply, I don't agree, I reject it because the Quran says otherwise. That's not historical reasoning, folks. That's presuppositional bias on his behalf. By the way, did Muhammad use a historical critical method that was fully first developed in the 18th century as his pitch to the 7th century Jews and Christians? Did he go around convincing people to convert by showing him the HCM? Did he say, I'm a prophet, believe in me because the book I wrote agrees with those parts of the Bible that agree with my book, and those that don't agree are corrupted? Who would buy that, bro? Get out of here, man. He'll try to sound technical and say, we can use probability. What's 51% is likely true. What's 49% isn't. But he only applies probability when it favors Islam. When 99% of the historians agree that Jesus predicted his death, then he'll suddenly say it's not certain enough for him. That's the death of objectivity, folks. Islamic argumentation keeps moving the goalpost until only the Quran survives. That's what you call dogma, not data. Every Muslim attempt, general confirmation, Q source, variant readings, probability calculus, is an attempt to avoid the two horns. But there is no third option. The Quran either affirms what it contradicts or contradicts what it affirms. So I'll conclude the opening by saying this. My challenge to my opponent today is, show me one verse where the Quran says, I confirm this part and I reject that part. Show me one verse where the Quran says the previous scriptures are textually corrupted. It doesn't. Therefore, the Islamic claim of general confirmation is nothing but post hoc patchwork to cover an unsolvable contradiction. Therefore, folks, I end with this. So woe to Deen who rewrites the scripture with his own hands and then says this is from Allah in order to exchange it for a small price of paid subscribers. Woe to them for what their hands have written, and woe to them for what they can earn. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job, Jay. Appreciate you. We'll wait for a second to Leafy to get the time reset, and then we'll be on Dean.
Ready to go, bro.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Dean, you are up. As soon as you start speaking, he'll start the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, you can start it now.
Yep.
So today we'll be discussing, again, the Christian delusion, but as Christians like to call it, the supposed quote-unquote Islamic dilemma. Before beginning, let's make it clear to everyone that multiple Christian apologists have dogged having this debate with me. We have Coley, Albi, Silv, aka Ankabut Man, and many, many, many more other Christian apologists are just absolutely dodging this topic, even though they say this is the best argument against Islam. So why are you running? So just to preface, they have all thrown under the bus our good friend Jay here, having him who can barely articulate intelligible sentences into a coherent manner. He's meant to defend this argument against Islam that is so good. Jay is the best guy we got now. he's the best guy we have left. If it's such a good argument, why are they all scared to debate it? Well, we will be showing today why that's the case, because in reality, this argument is complete garbage. The argument of the Islamic dilemma is that the Quran confirms the Torah and the Gospel while not knowing that the Torah and the Gospel actually contradicts the Quran. To put it very simply, so why would the Quran confirm a changed book? The first way we'll be addressing this argument is by saying the Quran does a general confirmation of the previous scriptures. What is this general confirmation, you may ask? Well, I'll define it right now for you. It means that the Quran confirms the majority of the core themes found within the Bible, such as monotheism, prophets coming as humans, nations being rejected, God punishing those nations, angels existing, books being sent down as guidance, laws being sent by God, as well as the coming of the Prophet ﷺ. The exceptions to the general confirmation are minimal in that there are not many major themes that you're going to find in the Bible that are recurring that would contradict with Islam. The justification that the Quran does this general confirmation, a non-absolute one, is the fact that the Quran does conscious edits to details in the previous scriptures, meaning the author edits material he disagrees with and changes the narrative intentionally. By showing this, it would then mean that the author doesn't intend the confirmation to be absolute. Now, Jay was mentioning, I'm not going to go too much in depth because this is meant to be for the rebuttal, but he mentioned that, oh, well, where does Allah say? Where does he say he's doing conscious edits? But where in the Gospels does it say that Jesus has a human nature? Where does Jesus go around and say that he has been given authority, but at the same time he inherently still has authority, and all these other mental gymnastics you guys go through in order to reconcile the Gospels? Obviously, you're not going to find explicitly mentioned, nor are you going to find conscious edits being explicitly mentioned, but it's a natural inference based on what we can induce from the author's intentions, okay? So I'm going to give some examples of conscious edits, beginning with the conscious edit made in Exodus. So what we have here is, in Quran chapter 20, verse 22, it talks about Moses going to the bush, the burning bush, and God tells Moses, and put your hand under your armpit, it will come out shining, white, unblemished, as another sign. In Exodus, it says that Moses' skin was leprous, full of disease. It had become as white as snow. So disease, the Quran is saying with no disease. This is an intentional correction from the perspective of the Quranic author. This is the evidence in itself. We can see the author intentionally is doing this due to the fact that the author has a problem with the undignified status of the prophets within the previous scriptures. Now I'm going to move on this specific theme of consciously editing, making the prophets more dignified from the previous scriptures. Another one's going to be a Samari making the golden calf instead of Aaron making the golden calf in Exodus. Obviously, this is intentional. The author relays many instances from Exodus, and it just so happens to be that the correction from the author's perspective has to do with a prophet not doing a major sin. So we have a Samari made the golden calf instead of Aaron making the golden calf, thus dignifying Aaron, peace be upon him, from such an attribution. I can give many more examples, right? I will leave it off with one more just before I continue on into my point regarding the gospel. So in Exodus 4, we have God being angry at Moses, while in the Quran, Moses is an upright servant. Why does he get angry? Because God tells Moses to go to Pharaoh. And Moses says, I'm not a good speaker. Then God says, I'm the one who allows people to speak and be mute, and basically saying, I will support you, just go. And Moses again says, pardon your servant, Lord. And he says again, he's not an eloquent speaker. Then God gets angry at Moses and says, okay, take Aaron with you, and he will be the one that speaks for you. He'll be the one that does the miracles for you. In the Quran, this is intentionally edited. Moses, in the Quran, when he's being sent to Pharaoh, he accepts it straight away and just asks God to let Aaron accompany him, not for Aaron to speak for him or to be the messenger for him. And what does this go into afterwards? Well, it has Moses doing the miracles in front of Pharaoh in the Quran. Moses does the miracle of the stick turning into a snake, as well as the stick literally turning into a snake that eats up the magician's sticks that just appeared to look like snakes. So even here we're seeing layers of edits by the Quranic author. What you have here is, first, God doesn't get angry. Two, it's Moses, the one that goes and does the miracles, while in the Bible it's Aaron that does the miracles. And three, the magicians in the Bible, the sticks literally turn into snakes, while in the Quran, it just appears to look like they've become snakes, which then allows for the magicians to become Muslim, because really in the Bible, Moses is just being depicted as a better sahir, as a better magician. That's all it is. But in the Quran, it's not him being a sahir at all. Rather, it's him coming with miraculous feats that cannot be emulated. I can give many more examples. I'm going to stop it here. Because as you can see, the author of the Quran systematically and meticulously edits material from the previous scriptures of the Christians and Jews, and therefore doesn't intend to confirm everything. So I want to hone in now on the gospel, particularly the author of the Quran's knowledge of the gospel. What we have here, the Quran clearly knows the gospel well. And I'm going to begin with chapter 57 of the Quran. It's just one of many evidences of this. Now what we have here is in Surah Al-Hadid. Just one second, let me pull this up. In Surah Al-Hadid, we have the parable of the 10 virgins that is being intertexted with chapter 57. So if you just make my screen bigger for this, appreciate it. So what we have here is Matthew 25 being intertexted with chapter 57 of the Quran. Okay, you can screenshot it, whatever, to look at this intertext. It's pretty well established in academia that the Quran has interplay here. Now, what people will say is, oh, but the author of the Quran doesn't know this is from the gospel. He just likes this and he's just hearing it and then he puts it into the Quran. Well, that doesn't work for two reasons. One, this is not the only parable that's intertwined within the surah. We also have another parable, the parable of the bags of gold, from Matthew 25 as well, that is intertexted within chapter 57. So again, you can screenshot it if you like. I'm not going to go into detail about how it intertexts between the two. So what we find here is two parables. Surah Al-Hadid, chapter 57, is 29 verses long. The author knows these two parables, intertwining them between one another and presenting a message, okay? Showing there's confirmation on the level of the meaning of what's left within Matthew 25. But what's the nail in the coffin here to show that the author knows more than just the content? He knows where it's coming from. Why? The only scripture mentioned in chapter 57, where these two intertexts come from, says that Jesus was given the gospel. The only scripture mentioned in chapter 57 is the gospel. And then at the end of chapter 57, verse 29, it mentions the people of the scripture, right? How they know this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is on verse 29. Indicating, obviously, you can make inferences here, that the gospel message is being expressed in Surah Al-Hadid within those two parables. It is not a coincidence. And obviously, this is a level of confirmation where the author knows parables so well, he intertwines it and expresses other themes. So let me just pull up another example to show that the author of the Quran knows the gospel. I can pull up many, but we don't have enough time for all of them. Here's Mark 4, the seed parable. So you have the kingdom of God being expressed as a seed in this parable, and it grows, okay? And what you have here in chapter 48, verse 29 is the same idea, but the kingdom of God is now expressed as the Muslim empire, the Muslim companions, okay? Now, what's so significant about this? The author of the Quran is not just understanding the parables, he knows where it's from, he knows it's from the gospel, and he's expressing it in a new way to establish the continuity of the Prophet ﷺ. More than that, if he knows these things are from the gospel, then he will know that these same gospels also say that Jesus talked about his death and resurrection. If that's the case, and the author contradicts the resurrection and the crucifixion and Jesus talking about these events, then obviously you know that it's not confirming everything from the gospel. It is completely implausible to posit that the author of the Quran knows the seed parable, knows the parables in Matthew 25, that these come from the gospel. And I can give more examples. That these come from the gospel, and he knows this, and he understands these parables, and yet you're going to tell me he doesn't know that he's contradicting that the gospel says Jesus says that he will die and resurrect. That is completely implausible. That's not convincing to anyone, to be honest. I don't think anyone will find that as likely. That's just being uncharitable for the sake of being uncharitable at that point. Now, our good friend, Jay here, managed to express our point with Matthew 23. And he tries to make an ad hoc distinction. He's trying to tell us, don't make ad hoc explanations. Dude, your interpretation of Matthew 23 is ad hoc. Let's look at this. Just screen again one time. So, as we have here from Hilary of Poitiers, an early church father in the 4th century, look at how he interprets Matthew 23. Is it just, don't do what they say, or confirm what they say, but don't do what they do? Is there a distinction between say and teach? Obviously not. Anyone can find that out. John Chrysostom also has a commentary that expresses this is their teachings, not just what they say. So in Matthew 23, just to summarize before I bring the commentary up, Jesus says to do everything that the Pharisees teach, but don't do what they do because of they're hypocrites. So their actions don't take from, but their teachings are okay. But part of their teachings is a corrupted oral law. The Pharisees taught the oral and written law. So obviously Jesus is doing a general confirmation. And this is what many commentaries you can find, both modern and classical, says that he was confirming parts of the oral traditions, but not all of them. So as you can see here from Hilary, look what he says. He actually says that the oral traditions from the time of Moses was preserved in some sense till the time of when Matthew 23 happened. For the same Moses, although he had committed to writing the words of the Old Testament, nevertheless communicated separately from hidden sources certain more secret mysteries of the law to the 70 elders. So he also passed on an oral law who would continue as teachers after him. The Lord mentions these teachings, the oral teachings, in the Gospels when he says, the scribes and Pharisees sit on the seat of Moses. For this reason, do and observe everything. We don't have anything in the Quran that says everything. I'm confirming everything in the Torah and the Gospel. You have Jesus saying that he's confirming everything that they tell you in the context of oral traditions that were passed down. Do you believe there's a perfect preservation of oral traditions the Pharisees had? Then he goes on to say, but do not behave as they do. Therefore, this proves that their teachings have remained in later generations. Teachings, not just sayings. Teachings, oral teachings passed down from the time of Moses. I'll wait for that. Okay. Have remained in later generations, namely the teachings received from the writer of the law himself and preserved in this office of the 70 elders. So your interpretation isn't classically based. It's not based in the modern sense either. I can show you so many other modern commentaries that say this is talking about teachings. This is your ad hoc justification to try and get away from the fact that you have double standards here, okay? Now, I gave the conscious edits from the Torah. I also mentioned how the author knows the gospel in depth and that he does conscious edits of stuff that he would most likely, almost definitely know that's in there due to the fact that he knows lesser details. Now, Jay, the intention of the author is not that these are consciously edited, but that these are haphazardly edited, unintentionally edited, right? Our form of evidence is not reduced down to just verbatim words, verbatim sentences. Allah has to say, I am correcting the scriptures, this is false and this is true. Dude, what the heck is that standard? You don't even hold to that yourself. And definitely us Muslims, we don't hold to that ourselves either. So the fact of the matter is, if we can show the author based on the text, I'm not using anything but the text, the text of the Quran, we can show there's a relationship between the Bible and the Quran where the Quran is consciously editing material due to theological differences with the material. But those theological differences aren't so much that you can't derive truth from the Bible. There is truth in the Bible. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is prophesied in there. There is true laws in there. There is stuff in there that is true. Yeah, so there's true stuff in there, obviously, that will show continuity. You don't need enough, you don't need full preservation to show continuity. If there is enough to show continuity, i.e., laws, prophet stories, etc., the general themes, then that's sufficient to establish continuity. You don't need verbatim, word-for-word preservation. You don't even believe that the Bible is verbatim preserved anyways. People believe with less certainty, is John 8 an addition or not? Is the ending a marked addition or not? Well, at the end of the day, they're going to say it doesn't actually change. It doesn't actually change the fact that there's enough continuity in there to establish the doctrines that are said within the Quran. You even have this idea from Jewish Christians in the pseudo-Clementine homilies. They say the Torah is corrupted, has anthropomorphic language, has deficiencies attributed to God. We have sins attributed to prophets, etc., etc. They say these are insertions to the Torah, and yet they're still optimistic that there's still enough truths in the Torah to call it the Torah. There's enough truths in the Torah to establish that Jesus is the Messiah. And yet they still say, yes, there is corruptions. And yet, they don't believe either that Jesus established it clearly. So you have Jewish Christians literally believing the same as us, not believing it's inconsistent. Non-Muslims, these are non-Muslims, Jewish Christians, that don't believe it's inconsistent to say there's continuity to establish Jesus as a prophet and the Messiah. There's enough continuity to say that the Torah is usable, that there's enough in there to be optimistic about what we can use from there, and yet we can still say there are insertions for independent reasons, due to the oral traditions passed down, or due to logical reasons, such as deficiencies attributed to God that we know by necessity is wrong. So it's not just Muslims saying this, that you can establish continuity even though there's corruption.
Alright, that's time, Dean.
Yeah,
By the
real
way,
quick, if you
Darren,
want
if
to
I
take
could
another.
request for the super chats, just
Oh,
if you could mute the super chats while Dean is speaking and Jay speaking to keep it fair, because a
yeah.
little bit of Dean's time was taken because
So
of the
what
super
we'll
chats.
do. Hey, so what we'll do is we're gonna give Dean, if you want to take another 30 seconds for the gifts that people are
No, I
sending.
think that's fine moving forward. I'm just saying, like, moving forward, try and mute the super chats.
How do you do that? What do you
I don't
mean?
know, but apparently you can.
And it's all good, it's all good. Just
Yeah,
give me
no,
the
we're
extra
good.
30. We'll just do that. So we'll just
Yeah,
estimate
just
an
take
extra
another
30.
30 seconds, Dean, if you'd like. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, so whenever you're ready, Leafy.
How much did you guys agree for the rebuttal?
The rebuttal, let me check.
Yeah.
The
I
first
think
one
what
is
10
10
minutes?
minutes. The second one is
Yeah,
5 minutes.
first 10-minute rebuttal, second 10-minute, 5 minutes. So we'll do
Alright, so
10
right now
minutes.
10 minutes, yeah?
All right, so I'm actually gonna do it like this. If you guys want me to leave you guys big screen, just in case you want to show sources, so that way we don't have to keep moving the camera back and forth.
Yeah, alright. When you're ready, Jay, let me know.
Okay. Yeah. As soon as you
Okay.
start talking, Jay, he's gonna start the timer if you don't mind.
Yeah. So guys, what did I tell you? He's going to run to Daddy Bible. This is an internal critique. He spent his entire time, Daddy Bible says this and Daddy Bible says that. When I told you that he's going to break the laws of internal critique, all right? Here's are the laws. Rule number 1, no new assumptions. You cannot insert beliefs the Quran never states. So general confirmation means partial confirmation. You can't. The actual Injil is only red letters, some parts, as he said. I called it. I told you that's what he was going to do. That agree with my book. You can't. Allah conscientiously edits the scriptures, but never tells us you can't. Rule number 2, no redefining terms. He's redefining all those terms out there. Number 3, no ad hoc escapes. Okay? When your explanation is less forced, more consistent, more faithful to the system, saying the Quran confirms the Torah, conscientiously contradicts this, is more ad hoc than admitting that there's a contradiction. Rule number 4, no external authorities. What did he do? He ran to external authorities. Rule number 5, no hiding behind mystery. What did he do? He hid behind mystery. We don't know why he does it, why he doesn't say it, but he doesn't say it. Okay? That's what he kept on doing. By the way, guys, intertextuality, all right? Plain and blunt, it means text talks to each other, whether on purpose or not. When you read a story and it reminds you of another story, your brain is making a connection between text. Okay? The connection is intertextuality. Bro, what scholars mean by this context, they're not saying the Quran copied the Bible. They're not saying Muhammad studied the Bible and corrected it. They're not saying the Quran was fixing mistakes in early scriptures. He just sat down and BS'd us, dude. You know what they do, right? Maybe I can put a sentence together, but he doesn't know terminologies. What he is doing out here is hoodwinking. That's what he's doing. So they're saying when a modern reader knows both texts, it's natural to compare them. And those comparisons can add meaning to the Quranic story. Again, he brought his pretty little table chart, folks. Everybody, let's all go home. The Islamic dilemma is gone because Deen brought his chart, who sat down and said, but it sounds like that. It sounds like that. Okay? Intertextuality resembles does not mean textual knowledge. Get that through your head, folks. This guy is absolutely making up stuff over here. Like he made up general confirmation. Like he made up conscientious edit. What does it say out there? You are breaking the rules of internal critique laws when you come up with these ad hoc stuff over there. All right? Now, real quick, on Matthew, okay? He had a whole session of going back and forth with inspiring philosophy on Matthew, where he brought plenty of scholars who sat down and said this has nothing to do. It has to do with what I said, my position. It has to do with my position. It doesn't have to do with what he was bringing up, because he found some few scholars. IP found some few scholars. Scholars versus scholars, whatever. But forget all of that, folks. Here's common sense, right? He's saying in Matthew, Jesus is explicitly saying general confirmation in there. And we are trying to sit down and say this, okay? Why don't you sit down? Why don't you sit down and show us something like that your Allah said, your author said in your books? He doesn't. So you're trying to say that there's a conversation happening around general confirmation on our books, but in his book is not. That's what he keep on saying. His Allah is mute. The author of the Quran is mute. If that's who he thinks, or is Muhammad or whatever, right? He's completely mute out there. All right, so now we're going to go into the general confirmation a little bit. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the meaning of general confirmation is this: considering the whole of someone or something, not just a particular part of him or her or it. Taking in the major themes, majority or all of it. He is not doing that, okay? He's making a general confirmation claim, but when pressed, he uses specific confirmation when promoting Islam. It's called a Mott-Bailey fallacy. You say general, but you mean specific. You say one thing, but really mean another. He may go general doesn't mean specific verses. It also means broader concepts like belief in one God, prophets, revelation, all that stuff he said, moral teaching. Again, he's just shifting from textual confirmation, which the Quran actually claims, to conceptual continuity, a category he's invented when the text contradict him. Again, he's broken the laws of internal critique, ad hocness. Just puts anything he wants to, and he says, you must believe me, and then you must prove me wrong. He's trying to smuggle in a different meaning of confirm than the one Quran actually uses. The Quran's language is textual, not conceptual. Surah 546-47 says, the Torah and the Gospel between their hands contain guidance and light. Christians must judge what Allah has revealed in it. This is not a conceptual confirmation. It's a direct textual reliance. Deen's move is a category shift. He can't defend the Quran's claim, so he redefines the claim for himself. Nowhere in the Quran does the author ever claim he's offering a general confirmation. The dominant theme is exactly the opposite. He repeatedly states he's confirming the previous scriptures, not once but 19 times in the Quran, with no caveats about any textual corruption of the original scriptures. He keeps on saying, how dare you ask me to sit down and show you that he wrote it? You don't even do it on your own. I'm bringing it to you. Your very author, when he wants to talk about how much he is in love with our scriptures, says it in 123 verses. He says it then on top of that 19 times. He says, I'm confirming. So he is vocal. He gets angry when you people don't follow the very scriptures. But suddenly you want to say, you challenge me to say, show me you don't hold it to the standards. We are telling you, hello, wake up. Are you listening to this conversation here? How can you have 142 verses? The guy is sitting down and having a love affair with our scriptures, telling you this with his words, but he's become mute. Suddenly he doesn't want to say what Deen wants to say. Hey, he just quietly edits it. And don't be surprised when Salafi Deen even ignores Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, their very own theological hero, who explicitly acknowledged that the early scriptures were not textually corrupted. They will happily throw him under the bus because they need to pop up this modern invention, general confirmation and conscious edits. A theory that literally never existed in Islamic history until these guys cooked it up on TikTok. They made it up. I have no clue where he's getting it from. Guys like John Fontaine invent sources that have never existed. Deen invents doctrines the Quran never teaches. They start off with the Quran as the ultimate truth teller, then they circle back to it, and it's as circular can get. Rebranding conscious edits as conscious contradictions to accommodate the contradiction verbiage we use changes nothing. A text cannot both confirm and intentionally oppose the same revelation. That remains a self-defeat, i.e. you're still in the Islamic dilemma part, bro. They think they can solve an internal critique by making up phantom categories. That's not how logic works. You don't beat an internal critique by inventing excuses. You need a clear, simpler account of the Quran's claim, not something more convoluted than the problem itself. Their description of general confirmation becomes, we'll just say the Quran confirms earlier scriptures in a general way, not absolutely. Some parts affirm, some parts deny. And when you ask them for evidence, silence. Because they know if they drag out 279 or 513 as proof of textual corruption, their Allah and their own scholars will refute them. If they run to the phrase general belief, Al-Imam Al-Mujmal, in Ibn Kathir's commentary 2946, they get caught playing games. That phrase refers to a doctrinal category in Islam, not textual corruption of the Bible. It actually means to believe in all and not partial. We have general and detailed belief as two categories in their Aqidah. And if he tries to redefine it as corruption, it'll backfire, because that category applies to all books of Allah, including the Quran. Congratulations, you would have sawed off the branch that they were sitting on. Deen's been told not to obfuscate on these kind of terms in the past. Deen, get Farid's response to help you out, bro, to quit. Don't start using that general belief as Ibn Kathir stuff. Don't try it with me. He knows that term well. Farid's response will teach you. Even the Quran's description of John the Baptist, Yahya, uses the same word, confirm, musakadin. And it obviously doesn't mean in a general way. It means he fully affirms what is true of Christ. So when the Quran uses the same term for itself, confirming the Torah and the Gospel, meaning its complete affirmation, it's not selectively editing. The Quran says it confirms what they have with them, over and over again, like a beating freaking drum. There is no such doctrine as general confirmation. There is no evidence of conscious edits. There is no Quranic verse teaching textual corruption of the Bible before Islam. Everything they're pushing is ad hoc. Everything they're pushing is born out of desperation, not revelation. The Muslim argument boils down to this. Well, hang on, people can still follow their scriptures even if they've been corrupted, because the Quran only means it in a general sense, not exact one, when it tells them to follow the Torah and Injil. Ad hoc. By his own admission, this Muslim just exposed their general confirmation explanation is ad hoc. He had to invent extra categories, assumptions to rescue himself from the Islamic dilemma. That the Quran confirms scriptures, it simultaneously accuses of corruption. Okay, but here's the problem.
Okay, that's time.
Yep, that's time.
That's
Jay.
time.
That's
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So we'll switch you guys out.
That was 10 minutes. Wow. Okay.
That was 10 minutes, my brother.
Yep.
All right.
All right, appreciate it.
All
All
right.
right, yeah, you can start over. Okay, thank you. So, I mean, first of all, I really have a lot of confidence that Jay can represent the Islamic dilemma really well based on his pronunciation of Musaddiq. What was that? Muqasidin? Or what do you say? Bro couldn't even pronounce the one word that he knows from Arabic based on his studies on the Quran. Okay, so first let's start with this misconception that Ibn Taymiyyah believes that the Torah and Gospel at the time was preserved. So this is from Jawab al-Sahih. I know he can't read it because he can't read Arabic. I read all of Jawab al-Sahih. So here's actually a note I've covered from there. This is Ibn Taymiyyah's view on the Torah and the Gospel. So we can see, like, this guy is just misrepresenting. He's misrepresenting what Ibn Taymiyyah believes. So if you were to ask someone, such as John Fontaine, why does Allah tell the people of the book? Why does he tell the people of the book to judge by the previous scriptures if they've been corrupted? Okay. Now, if John Fontaine would say, and those that hold his position, they would say, yeah, this is talking about the preserved Torah and Gospel in Medina. That's what they would say. Okay. Does Ibn Taymiyyah say that? Well, this is what he says. So by this, the answer is obtained to the doubt of one who says nothing of its words have been altered. For they say if alteration had occurred in the words of the Torah and the Gospel before the mission of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the truth would not have been known from falsehood. So argument with them would fail, and the obligation of acting upon them, upon the people of the book, would fall. So they would not be blamed for leaving them. So basically what he's saying is, the argument here a Christian will bring is, how is Allah telling them to judge by the Torah and the Gospel and to judge by its laws if, in fact, the laws have been corrupted? Well, the reply is this, and this is what Ibn Taymiyyah says. What occurred of alteration was little in the context of laws here. This is the context of laws in his work, Jawab al-Sahih. And most of it was not altered. And that which was not altered has explicit words clarifying by them the intended meaning from the hour. Does this sound like he believes all of it's preserved? If he thinks the Torah and the Gospel was preserved in Medina, his response to this critique would be, yeah, this is talking about the preserved Torah and Gospel, which it isn't. I can give like 10 other quotes from Ibn Taymiyyah like this, showing that you are misinterpreting Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah is talking about fragments, manuscripts, not entire books being preserved to the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So, I mean, how are you supposed to even know that? You don't even read Arabic. Who the hell is actually translating Ibn Taymiyyah? I would love to know. So anyways, going back to the other arguments. He says, oh, in Matthew 23, it's scholars versus scholars. No, it's not scholars versus, it is modern scholars, right? Trying to get away from the fact that Jesus is confirming all traditions, right? While I have early scholars like Hilary, John Chrysostom, saying this is oral teachings. This is actually teachings itself. It's not just talking about telling, it's talking about teachings. Now, if you have scholars versus scholars, you don't just say, oh, there we go, we put our hands in the air. We just forget about it. No, dude, you look at the substance of the arguments of these scholars. And by the way, he made a major blunder. Let me go back to this. He said, and this is recorded, by the way, he said that the majority of scholars believe Jesus predicted his death. Dude, you do not know the scholarship. You do not know the scholarship. They believe based on internal evidence, not because they presuppose naturalism or whatever. They believe because of internal evidence that Jesus did not predict his death. This is the overwhelming majority of scholars. That is a blunder and a half. You made the same exact blunder that inspiring philosophy made. Right? I checked the receipts of inspiring philosophy, and he admitted to me on Twitter saying he was wrong on James Tabor. One of the scholars he listed as believing this, James Tabor, inspiring philosophy, blundered. He admitted this on Twitter. Now, obviously, most Christians will take Hilary as well as John Chrysostom, as well as just the context, pretty clear, talking about teachings, over some modern Protestant commentaries trying to avoid the fact that he is confirming stuff outside of the Torah, the written Torah. Now, remember guys, my argument was that you don't need actually the Quran, the author, to say explicitly that the previous scriptures have been distorted textually. Why is that the case? Because we can inference based on the author's intentions that that's what he believes. How do we determine the intentions? Well, we see, is this arbitrary? Is this sporadic? Is this haphazard? This idea of that's expressed in the Bible that the author then changes? Is this systematic or is this arbitrary, random? This happens and the author doesn't know what's going on. Quite obviously, it's the former, not the latter. And the fact of the matter is, it's because we have major themes being adjusted, such as prophets committing major sins. I showed you Aaron, I showed you Moses. I can show you multiple others within the Quran, relieving these prophets from these major sins. This is intentional edits, not unintentional. Now, if you're going to say the author can't distinguish between what's in the text and what's oral, and he only thinks he's editing the oral stuff, then you need to justify that. Because I can equally say that the author of the Quran, he is editing material. Even if I grant you he's taking from oral traditions. He hears stuff, okay, I'll grant you that even. He hears stuff, and yet when he hears stuff and he contradicts what he hears, he knows possibly what he contradicts from what he's hearing comes from the text. The author is comfortable with that fact. And then he adjusts, and he adjusts, and he adjusts, and he adjusts, and he edits and edits and edits, knowing in fact he is possibly editing the text and has no issue with that. The author of the Quran has no issue at all with the possibility of editing texts that the Jews and Christians have. Now, why is it that, okay, this is one of the arguments he was making, which is, why is the Quran saying confirming, guidance and light? He's written in the Torah and the Gospel. Why is the Quran reiterating all these points? Well, it's not much of da'wah to a Christian and a Jew to say, oh, your books are corrupted, convert to Islam. That's not the Quran's way of da'wah. The Quran's way of da'wah, inviting Christians and Jews to Islam, is, I'm optimistic with what you have. With what you have is sufficient to prove continuity. Come to Islam. Your books prove Islam. The argument in the Quran isn't mainly textually your books are corrupted and there you go. It's all distorted. It's all lost. That is not, no one from the Salaf used that way of da'wah. Rather, what they say is, yeah, you have corruptions. It's clear from the internally that you have corruptions. But at the same time, we have chapters upon chapters upon chapters of the Salaf showing that they have the description of the Prophet in there. So it's not much of a case of inviting someone to Islam to just tell them all your books are corrupted, right? What's more effective is to say that the Prophet's descriptions is in there. The law is in there. There's true parts. Implement those true parts and you will notice the continuity within Islam. Okay? Now, a lot of the stuff that the Quran actually confirms as well, and the stuff that it denies is intuitive, and most people would already say, yeah, that makes sense. Prophets committing major sins after being anointed by God, chosen over everyone else, they are going to commit sins that even average people don't commit. I mean, I don't know anyone personally that commits murder, and yet Moses is meant to be the best prophet, but obviously behind Jesus. I know many Muslims and Christians. I don't know any of them. Yeah. So I know many Muslims, Christians, Jews that aren't even that religious and yet still don't commit these major sins, major abhorrent sins. Right? So just intuitive already, a lot of these stuff already intuitive. And the internal critique already is demolished by the conscious edits point. So I am addressing other external things that he was mentioning. But the internal critique's already demolished by the conscious edits. He's not actually showing that the author of the Quran doesn't intend those edits I mentioned in my intro. Okay? Because he did say he doesn't believe it's conscious. Show it is not conscious. So show it is not intentional. I gave you reasons why it's intentional. There's wisdoms, there's hikmah, there's wisdoms behind these edits. I'll give you another one. Surah Maryam. In Surah Maryam, we see an equaling between John the Baptist and Isa alayhi salam. Whereas in the Gospel of Luke, we have the opposite. Zechariah says, How is it that my wife will give birth if she's barren? He gets punished for that. In the Quran, he doesn't get punished for that. In Surah Maryam and Surah Al-Imran. Right? And then when Mary says the same question, how can I give birth if I'm a virgin? I haven't been touched by anyone. Right? Does she get punished even though she's asking the same question as Zechariah? No. So obviously these authors are making a distinction here that anyone can see independently. Doesn't make sense. But when you look at the Q document, and I'll bake you on the Q document, the fact that it exists, if you're going to say it's just a hypothetical document. Well, yeah, it's a hypothetical document that scholars believe they need to posit out of necessity to make sense of the data. In the Q document, the earliest gospel we have, you see an equaling between Jesus and John the Baptist. So what you see here is not just a conscious edit on the point of John the Baptist and his father, but it's also something that was reviving the earliest historical memory of John the Baptist and Jesus alayhim salam. So yeah, that's the end of my 10-minute rebuttal. I mean, are you going to add an extra 30 seconds?
30
Yeah, I
minutes,
appreciate,
30
I
Yeah,
seconds.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
I can
You
have
guys,
another 10
I did.
seconds.
just for the gifts, and that goes for both of you guys. For the gifts that are coming in, you guys are going to get an additional 30 seconds just to finish up your point.
But by the way, just FYI, I did notice when it was my time, there was no 30 seconds.
I know, Jay. I got you. Yours.
We can start from now.
Yeah, we
I
got
don't
it. From
mind.
now on, each one of you guys get an additional 30 seconds for the gifts. Thank you, chat, you guys, for gifting these guys. Appreciate you guys. But go ahead, Dean. You're gonna get an extra 30 seconds, bro.
Appreciate it.
Same thing for you, Jay.
Yeah, so Leafy, you're going to put 30 seconds or?
Yeah, I'm counting it down.
Oh, it's
Just when it gets to
okay.
9:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one confirm. All right. So yeah, just start from now. Okay, beautiful. So just to end this off, he needs to show that the author is not doing it consciously. That the author rather is doing it haphazardly. He's doing it randomly. He can't show that. He can't show that with the edits we've shown. It's clearly intentional, right? Now he keeps saying, I keep talking about it not being internal and whatever. I keep mentioning external. Dude, you're the one that mentioned the infancy gospel of Thomas, not me. Trying to make this but he's confusing stuff. Dude, if it's an internal critique, why are you mentioning stuff like that? So obviously I have to address external stuff too.
That's 30 seconds, dude.
Beautiful. All right, sounds good. So
So
Jay,
5 minutes, we said.
yep, sounds good.
All right, guys, real quick. Remember this. He made the claim
Wait,
there's a
just wait, Jay.
conscious
Just wait, Jay. One sec, Jay. 1 second, bro. Let me just get the time ready. All right, you're good, bro. Go ahead and speak.
All right, guys. He made the claim of conscious edits and general confirmation, right? This guy's not okay. He starts off his time by just twice now he's made ad hominems towards me. He should pay attention to what I'm saying instead. You're making the bloody claim. You made the positive claim, and you want me to prove your claim? No, you have to prove it. I've actually showed you that your inference is ad hoc. It's an internal critique. You just added things and you made up stuff that is not there in the Quran. You have violated every rule of the internal critique. You lost this debate. You were baked the moment I walked in. But now I'm playing with you. I'm toying with you, and I'm asking you, look, if it's conscious, I'm proving to you that my inference is actually in the Quran. I'm showing you through the Quran that the author has never, ever said any of the stuff you're saying, but he said the opposite. So if he says the opposite, why doesn't he say what you say? If he's happy, it's not like a mute. If he was a mute author, then I would have accepted, yeah, maybe he just does things quietly. He doesn't say anything. But he's so emphatic about the love affair with our previous scriptures. 142 verses, man. You need to read your Quran, boy. You got the Musaddiq really down really well, but you never read your own Quran. You never paid attention to anything because you were busy trying to make some money off subscribers. That's what it was. You need to go back and read the basics. So I proved it to you. The conscious edit doesn't exist in the Quran, and it should. Your author should say that because he says the opposite. When he feels the opposite, he says that. When he's in love affair with the previous books, he says that. When he's angry with the people who follow the previous scriptures, he says that. So suddenly becoming mute doesn't make any sense. You just made up this whole thing over there anyways. Guys, he sat down and said the Quran's way of dawah is not to say it's corrupted, but the Jews and the Christians, bro, the Quran's way of dawah is not to say it's corrupted. And so he's selling it to the Jews and Christians out there and saying, oh, yeah, this is my Quran, which just sits down and wipes out all 100% of your major theological themes in your Bible. This is what his pitch is. Hey, man, Jews and Christians, come be Muslims. Okay, come be Muslims, because my book that I wrote sits down and all the things that agrees with the Bible, that agrees with my book is good. Whatever doesn't agree, it's bad. So you must become a Muslim. Bro, where did they find these guys, dude? Where did they find these guys to come and debate us, right? All right. He slips in, editing. He is editing oral stuff. At no point I said that. You see how he said, well, I'll give it to him if he says oral. No. I'm saying diddly squat, boy. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He doesn't know it. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, okay? I'm not agreeing to any kind of edits that your author of the Quran is saying. That's what I keep on saying because he never says it. Ibn Taymiyyah. Let me see the big screen here, boys. Do you want to see Peeping Tom here? We'll get you Peeping Tom. This same guy who sits on it and makes fun of me on my accent, no problem, bro. You know, a name that sounds like his name, it doesn't make a difference. Here's Ibn Taymiyyah in his book out here, okay? Here is Kitab-i-Gat al-Lafan, and he says, and this is also by the chief student of Ibn Taymiyyah. And from the evidence of these scholars is that the Torah has spread across east and west of the earth and spread south and north, and no one knows the number of copies except Allah, and it is impossible to conspire to substitute and change all those copies, such that not a single copy remains on earth except one that is substituted and changed according to the same methodology. And this is something the intellect finds impossible and testifies to falsity. Hey, look who's pitching that. You see this guy here, this Peeping Tom? That's him. He's pitching and saying he was having a discussion on Ibn Taymiyyah saying that the previous scriptures were not corrupted. And guess who he taught that same thing? I've got a reference from Muhammad Hijab, who these guys taught. Libiano and him taught Muhammad Hijab the Islamic Dilemma. He just had a show about a week ago, and in there he says, yes, Ibn Taymiyyah said the previous scriptures were not corrupted. These guys had a review on his show and said, oh, he did so well. So here you go, Peeping Tom right here. Who's that fellow? That's him, sitting on talking about that. You want more? I've got you want it in Arabic? Here, I've got it in Arabic. Here it is in Arabic from the whole thing. Ibn Taymiyyah saying this. The third correct statement is that there are authentic copies on the earth remain until the time of the Prophet. Whoever says that all the copies are copies after the Prophet, may God bless him, grant him peace, were distorted, has said something that he knows is wrong. There is no information in the Quran that they changed all copies. There's no information on there. So stop telling me all this garbage out there, okay? He's been running from the conscious edits and the general confirmation. Ladies and gentlemen, the word general that he wants to make up, you know, maybe madrasa education told him, I will use an English language word, but then suddenly I'll make general equals one specific. Okay, Well, I thought you were giving me 30 seconds from the last time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
sure, you can go ahead and get 30 seconds from us. No problem.
He's going to ignore that. I just need 10, 15 seconds. He's going to ignore that, and he's going to sit down. Look how he's running from me. He ran into Q, bro. I had Q. In my opening statement, I'm saying, I know this guy's going to bring in Q. Let me ask you, did the Jews and the Christians in the 7th century have a Q manuscript that they could walk around and benchmark things? He's just making up stuff. After cribbing about modern scholars, he's going to modern scholars on the Q. Bro, you are getting baked in this debate.
That's
you
time, Jay.
You didn't know you were going up against.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Sounds good.
When you're ready, Deen.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right. So just start now. Yeah, so you don't require the Q document, first of all, in order for you to see the fact that there's distortions within there. Thankfully, us finding out the Q document actually exists is able to make it very clear for us the fact that this is the case. But you can already notice it doesn't make any sense. Why is Mary not being punished for the same thing that Zechariah is being punished for? Why is there contradictory notions about John the Baptist and Jesus within the Gospels? Obviously, there's some distortion there. And the Quran is reviving the earliest conception, which is the fact that John the Baptist and Zechariah are not denigrated in the sense as the Gospels present them. And he mentions like all subscribers for money or whatever. Dude, like, are you ready right now to condemn inspiring philosophy, wanting 30K for ministry work? Talking to me about talking about dollars for subscribers or whatever. Dude, this guy was asked for 30K for 1 month. In 1 month, he wants to rack up 30K. And you want to mention this this money stuff to us. Like, dude, are you serious? Secondly, Ibn Taymiyyah, I'm surprised this guy doesn't know. Ibn Taymiyyah doesn't believe the Torah is fully preserved. In that very reference you have, Ibn al-Qayyim says that he believes the Torah is mostly preserved. Okay, so while I'm speaking right now, I'm pulling it up for you. I'm surprised you didn't know this. It's so common. Which is the fact that he doesn't believe it's fully preserved. What he's saying in the context of your passage that you brought up is that it's impossible to distort all the copies of the Torah post the time of the Prophet ﷺ when it reaches, obviously, mass transmission. And even before the time of the Prophet, it actually reached mass transmission. So there's no way someone could distort all the copies in the whole world at the point where it reaches at the level of mutawatir or mass transmission. He still does believe that the Torah is not fully preserved. Obviously, Ibn Taymiyyah makes it very clear in his works. You're just like copy and pasting. I don't even know where you're copy and pasting from, to be honest, because this is all nonsense. So yeah, I will bring up, if I can't bring up the reference now, I'll bring up later. Actually, is right here. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, so this is from a good friend of mine on Twitter. A third group took the middle path. So this is from the same work that he was quoting from, Jay was quoting from. A third group took the middle path, saying, because obviously Imam Qayyim was listing different views on the previous scriptures. A third group took the middle path and said, if the Torah has been added to and few wordings were changed, does that sound like it's fully preserved? No. Whose position is this? Among those who took this view is our Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Thanks, mate. Anyways, let's continue with the other points he was making. Really, he's just wasting a lot of his time. A lot of his time, he's really just wasting it trying to say, well, the author doesn't say it. The author doesn't say that, right? The author doesn't say that he's doing conscious edits. The author doesn't say that he's doing general confirmation. I'm telling you, believe it's not conscious? Show me it is not conscious. Show me that. Instead of just assuming your interpretation of what confirmation means, I'm telling you, yeah, confirmation can be absolute or it can be general. And the justification on why it is general is the same justification I bring. The same justification that I bring to it being general is the same justification scholars bring on how Jesus is doing a general confirmation in Matthew 23. There's no symmetry breaker. Jesus does conscious edits to what the Pharisees are teaching. Therefore, when it comes to the Quran, when it's confirming, it is doing conscious edits, and therefore it's a general confirmation. It's not that hard. Mate, you have to show me, actually, that the edits are not conscious. Show me that. You can prove it internally. Show me it doesn't make any sense. Show me there's no wisdom behind it. Show me there's no intention behind the author. Show me that he's making a mistake when he hears something and then he does it. Look, he's even scared to make an external critique. He's keeping it to an internal, and he's getting absolutely destroyed on the internal critique. You cannot work with the internal critique with Islamic dilemma. Early Muslims believed in distortion of the books. Early Muslims in the Salaf believed in distortion. Ibn Qutayba, early Muslims that we even have documented within the writings of the Christians, using 1094, using these verses and saying, how do you believe the gospel is distorted? And they're speaking to Muslims who believe the gospel is distorted. In the early centuries of Islam, they're believing this. So doing an internal critique is just nonsense. You can't show me internally from the Quran that the conscious edits are not intentional. I showed you they're intentional. I explained it to you. You can't explain it because you lack the explanatory power, both in terms of biblical knowledge and Quranic knowledge. Let's be honest, man. I know your book better than you, and I know the Quran better than you. I know the hadiths better than you, and I know the quotes from the scholars better than you. You can't read the Arabic. You can't read the original sources. You can't understand the original sources. You literally just took your information from my video.
30 seconds, Dean.
You took your information from my video where I was quoting Ibn Qayyim and you butchered it. You literally butchered the quote because before it he says Ibn Taymiyyah believes the Torah is distorted. Then he refutes the idea that no one could have distorted it. Sorry, he actually says the point that no one could have distorted it, thus refuting those that say it was distorted at a time when it was mass transmitted. A lot of scholars say that before, when it wasn't mass transmitted, it got corrupted, but after mass transmission, it was hard. That's exactly what he was saying.
And that's time, dude. All right. So how much now did you guys agree to?
Let me see. Let me get my notes back up. Let's see. After the 5-minute rebuttal, so it's 10 minute. Is it cross? Are you guys doing cross exam or Q&A?
Yeah. Cross exam. Yeah.
Cross exam. Okay.
So is it 10 minutes cross exam?
Yeah.
Dean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put you down.
So Jay going first, right? Jay cross examining Dean.
Yeah, Jay first. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Darren, you're moderating, so you need to tell me when you want me to start and stop.
Okay, so yeah, and real quick, make sure you guys, real quick with your answers. Let's not be long-winded. You have, how much time do you think you guys would need to respond to each question? Because we want to make sure you guys aren't long-winded.
Yeah, about 15 seconds, let's say.
Okay, 15 seconds. Try to be direct and to the point. If it just goes in circular, we're going to stop your time and try to just seek clarification so we can continue to cross-exam. So go ahead. We'll start now.
Go ahead, Jay.
Uh-oh.
Jay, you're muted.
Yeah, Jay, you're on mute, but
Sorry.
Just restart it for you. Go ahead.
Dean. Yep. Okay. All right. Did you just admit that Allah does not say He will consciously edit, and He consciously edits without declaring it? Yes or no?
Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not say anywhere explicitly, the same way that the Bible doesn't say anywhere explicitly many doctrines that you guys hold to that is complete ad hoc nonsense.
Okay, so you invented essentially a doctrine that the Quran never states. That's not interpretation, that's fabrication. Do you agree?
No, because I made an inference based on me looking at the Quran and seeing that the intention of the author is a conscious editing of the previous scriptures. I make the inference based on the text.
All right, does the Quran state that in this invented doctrine? Yes or no?
Okay, again, you're holding me to a standard that I don't believe anyone holds to, which is explicit mentioning of a standard or a doctrine, such as, oh, God has to say, I'm doing conscious edits or general confirmation. The Bible doesn't say Jesus has a human nature, does it?
I'll take that down as no, it does not. Okay, so something that's not in the Quran, he's pulling it out. Okay, now, is an internal critique, as in an internal critique, are you allowed to add unstated doctrines to rescue your position? Yes or no?
No, and that's not what I did. What I did was I applied doctrines that I inferenced from the text itself, showing the author's intentions is an intentional correction of previous texts.
Is that stated doctrine written anywhere? Stated? You know what the difference between stated and unstated is? Is it stated?
Yeah, so I don't think you understand what stated and unstated is. I do know what the difference is. It is stated in the sense that you can infer it, not stated verbatim.
So it's not written down, not in the Quran again.
No, that's not what I said. You're misrepresenting what I said.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. So
Anyone
show me where in the Quran, show me where in the Quran, where the Quran says any of the following. Allah secretly edited the Bible. Allah revealed only the partial Injil. Allah preserved some parts and discarded some other parts. Show me where it explicitly says that. Yeah.
So again, this is the. Do you know what the verbatim word fallacy is? Because you keep falling into it.
Don't ask me questions.
So the idea, it's a rhetorical question. But settle down. Settle down. I'm asking a rhetorical question. So the point is that I don't need something explicit there. I'm doing an inference, the best possible explanation. The same way you would infer many doctrines from the Bible. Where does Jesus ever say, "I have a human nature and one person"?
Okay. All right. Thank you. 15 seconds are up. All right. So Deen. When your Allah, the author of the Quran, explicitly, statedly puts in the Quran 142 verses praising the previous scriptures, confirming the previous scriptures, you are saying right now that you don't have anywhere, if I'm correct, where it says your version of what you want to bring to the table, aka that Allah in any way, in any shape that he says, Allah secretly edited the Bible, Allah revealed only a partial Injil, Allah preserved some parts and discarded others. I'm not asking for verbatim, just in any form that he says the previous scriptures were textually corrupted. Is there anywhere in your Quran it says it?
I got you. So even if I grant you there isn't one, which I don't believe, I think 513 and 279 are good cases. I'll even grant you, there's none. But I'm still taking the best inference, the best possible explanation based on the intention of the author. You can't refute it. You still haven't refuted it.
Brilliant. Again, it's not anywhere in the Quran. Okay. Is your method this? The Quran confirms what it agrees with, corrects what it doesn't. You use the Quran to filter the Bible, then use the filtered Bible to prove Islam.
Yeah, so that's a very loaded question. I'm needing more than 15 seconds. So when the Quran is confirming the Bible, me as a Muslim, yes, I do use the Quran and the Sunnah as my standard, yes. But I don't use it as my standard and then apply it to a Christian or a Jew. At that point, I use internal evidence as well as other factors in order for me to apply a prophecy to then use it against a Christian or a Jew. Otherwise, it's going to fall into circular reasoning. So yes, for me personally, I use the Quran as the standard. The same way you use the Bible as your standard for morality and other things.
Okay, all right. So you just agreed whatever the Quran says is good, whatever it says is bad is corrupted. Wonderful. All right. So you say there is enough of truth in our book to lead us to Islam, but also enough. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there also enough of falsehood to lead us away?
No, because the verified falsehood within the Bible, you can't find anything. You can't find anything within there that is verifiably false in the fact that it's internally contradictory or it contradicts what we know via other methods that will then contradict Islam. There's nothing we know from certainty from the Bible. There's nothing that we know with certainty from the Bible that contradicts Islam.
What about unverified falsehood? Come on, man. What about unverified?
There's nothing we know. Yeah, I'm gonna repeat because you cut me off from my final point.
Okay. Yeah, hurry. Go ahead.
So there's nothing we know within the Bible with certainty that contradicts Islam. No.
You don't know. So Quran doesn't give you, would you say that your Allah and your author does not give you a way to know something certainty is true or false in the Bible?
It does for a Muslim, it doesn't equip it with a Christian. A Christian has other inductive methods to use.
Great. So that means what you said, as I heard you, is that Islam, whatever agrees with Islam is good, whatever doesn't agree with Islam is corrupted. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. Where does the Quran
Yes, I want to respond to that. I want to respond to that for 15 seconds. Yeah, so the point is that the Quran, for me, the same way for you, the Bible is a standard for morality, standard for history, the standard for all these things. Just because the Quran says they have some truth or they have truth in there, doesn't mean that I have to accept everything. The same way Jesus in Matthew 23, as I gave an example before.
That's not how our Bible works, but thank you for trying to take me into the Bible again. Where does the Quran say the Torah and Gospel were only preserved in meaning?
The Quran doesn't say it. Again, it's the inference of the best possible explanation.
Okay, Quran doesn't say anything, but you've come up with that stuff. All right, so let's see. Does not say it. Bro, this is looking really juicy here. Okay, if the meaning is preserved, but the text is corrupted, who decides which parts contain the meaning?
I don't know what that means.
Who decides which part contains the true meaning? If you're saying if the
it's the same question. It's the same question as
right?
before. It's obviously my standards of the Quran and the Hadith.
So okay, all right. So it's circular again. Back to the Quran. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to respond to that. So the point is that obviously, if I ask you what's your standard on morality, what's your standard on history, what's your standard on anything, you're going to say the Bible first, and then I take secondary sources. So are you going to say you're circular now because you take the Bible as a reference point for existences of stuff in the past, and sometimes it might contradict history, but you're still going to take the Bible? That's not circular, obviously.
You can ask that question on your time, bro. You've gone over the time. I've been generous with my time with you. Where does the Quran teach preserved in meaning but no text?
You asked this question already, bro. You're wasting your time.
Okay, all right. We'll go to the next one. If Allah conscientiously edited Exodus, why do Quranic variants line up with Jewish midrash and apocrypha instead of the biblical text?
I got you. So basically, we can use actually the Hilary quote as justification to say that the oral texts will actually give us sometimes even better understandings than the text itself. So this is actually a standard the Jewish Christians would use as well in the Pseudo-Clementine homilies. They would say oral traditions logic, as well as other independent reasons, could help us understand the distortion to the text of the Pentateuch. So I'm not opposed to the oral traditions contradicting the text and that being better preserved.
Okay, so that means that your conscious edit includes things that are not even included in the Bible. Very nice. All right, you say the Quran has themes like protecting prophets from embarrassment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, when the Quran speaks of the Torah, the Gospel, and the Psalms in 123 verses with laudatory language, guidance, light, reminder, Furqan, is that a theme also? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when there is zero explicit textual corruption claims in the Quran about those books, is that absence also a pattern? Yes or no?
Is that absence a pattern? Or what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
If there's an absence, it's not a
When there
pattern.
is zero explicit textual,
It's just an absence. There's no pattern.
Is that absence a pattern? Yes or no?
There's an absence of explicit mentioning within the Quran of the fact that these books contain these corrections. They're meant to have these corrections.
Is it a
Now,
pattern?
now
or
I'm
not?
gonna. Yeah, no, you have to let me finish, dude. I gave you yes or no's.
Give him time to answer the
Yeah,
question.
I gave you a couple yes or no. So let me hear. Give me at least 10 seconds. Thank you. So the point of the matter is, So the point of the matter is that the Quran does not say explicitly, but I already told you from the very beginning that there's inferences.
Hey,
The
this
best
is beyond
possible
15
explanation.
seconds now.
Dude, oh
We
my
got-
God!
we
Like
got
you keep
Jay,
interrupting.
Listen, I don't mind.
Jay, Darren is the one who's moderating.
Yeah, you gotta let me moderate, Jay.
Yes.
He gave you a couple direct answers. And
I
he
know,
just
I know,
wanted to expound
but
on his
here's
last
my
answer.
thing, okay?
So
Leafy won't speak up against him.
I
okay?
agree.
So,
Listen, Jay. Jay.
I've been generous in my
You gotta
time.
chill, bro.
I'm just saying that just pause it. I don't mind if he wants to take 30 seconds to answer.
Okay.
I'll be generous with that too.
Right.
But then pause my time.
Jay, here's the point. He
Well, then
gave
do
you a
it.
couple direct answers without even responding. So if he wants to elaborate on the third question, we're gonna let him do that. But you gotta allow me to.
Well, it's his choice if he doesn't want to elaborate on everything.
Yeah, I agree. But I will be the judge of whether or not it's been 15 seconds or not. You can't interrupt him in the middle of his disposition. You cannot do that. So
Appreciate
again, yeah. So let him finish your statement, and then we'll start the time. We'll just go ahead and finish that statement just to preserve.
I mean, it's already been.
Jay's question.
Started. My question was at the 1 minute mark.
If you want,
37 seconds now.
if you want, Jay, we'll give you 30 seconds just so like you can feel that it's being reasonable. I'm sure Dean wouldn't mind that.
All right.
Yeah, I don't mind that, bro.
So
You
we'll
give
do
him a
that,
minute even.
but you gotta let me mod though, Jay. You gotta let me mod. If it's been 15
I'll
seconds,
give you a minute.
I'll make sure.
Give me a second to get the.
Leafy, give him an extra minute.
Let me repeat the question again for him so that he has his 15 seconds to answer. Okay.
Yeah.
When there are zero explicit textual corruptions claimed in the Quran, i.e., the Quran never says the previous scriptures are corrupted about those books, the previous scriptures, is that absence of not saying it also a pattern? Yes or no, is what I asked you.
Yes. So obviously, I mentioned from the very beginning that the Quran doesn't mention explicitly, I'll grant you it, he doesn't mention explicitly anywhere. But because the author does conscious edits, which he never addressed, and the best best possible explanation is that he allows for textual distortion.
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. Why is the Quran loud in praise of prior scriptures but silent when allegedly dismantling the crucifixion, resurrection, atonement, and sonship?
The Quran does express the fact that Jesus wasn't crucified. And more than that, I already showed you that he has in-depth knowledge of the gospel. So how would he not know that the gospel says that Jesus was crucified? Obviously, he knows that and he's editing it.
Beautiful. Last question.
So sorry, is that time?
No, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead and ask your last question.
Allow him to answer. Go ahead.
All right. If the prophets are protected from embarrassment, why is Muhammad rebuked publicly in 66:1 and also Noah publicly was corrected?
Yeah, I got you. So the Quran's envisionment of Isma, which the doctrine I was just saying before, that they don't do major sins, does not involve not being able to make mistakes. I made a very clear distinction at the beginning. I said at the very beginning, major sins, shirk, as well as murdering someone, as well as angering God intentionally by disobeying God's command to go to Pharaoh by Moses. All these things are major sins. Prophets can make mistakes, obviously.
All right. Now we're going to switch positions. So now, Dean, you'll be asking the questions. Jay, you will be responding. Make sure your questions are quick, to the point. If it goes longer than 50 seconds, I will stop you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
start when
start
you're
when
ready.
you ask your question.
Okay.
Start when you ask your question, yeah.
All right. So Jay, quick question. When the Quran does these supposed conscious edits, I'm listening to you. Give me a reason why it is not conscious that Moses wasn't leprous. What was the author of the Quran doing there if he wasn't consciously editing material?
Yeah, nice try, buddy. It doesn't do any conscious edits. I've been keep on telling you that it is very vocal in expressing anything about the previous scriptures, but absolutely mute on this. There is no conscious edits. It's a made-up assertion by you, ad hoc.
Okay, so I'm gonna press on this again because everyone can see that you're getting baked right now. When the Quran says that his skin was unblemished, is the Quran responding to something that it knows is a claim about Moses? Yes or no?
Great. Maybe you can listen to my answer next time, okay? The author is not making a conscious edit. Those things that are coming in is he's just an ear. He never edits anything, is my position. The author of the Quran never says the previous scriptures are corrupted. You made up this story and you want us to sit down and say it was a conscious edit. Hear me out this. You'll ask me this 15 times and I'll say the same answer. There is no conscious edits.
Yeah. Okay. So just saying there's no conscious edit is in the same way as showing that it isn't. So is your position is that the author hears a tradition that says that Moses' hand is not blemished? Is that your position?
The author of the Quran hears a tradition and verbatim puts it in there. He does no edits. He has no idea about the previous scriptures. He has no access to the previous scriptures. He's an illiterate person who doesn't know any of this stuff.
Okay, so can you show me a tradition that says that Moses' hand was not blemished?
I don't care to show it. That's not my problem. That's a you problem. What is this? Show me making a claim. This is what he's doing, ladies and gentlemen. He's giggling because he's losing, okay? He's made a claim and he cannot sit down and prove his claim. I have proved the claim on the other side, that when the author wanted to be vocal, he would be vocal.
Exactly. All right, time. Okay, time.
Okay?
Control yourself. So the point here is you're actually pausing the John Fontaine position. Are you pausing the John Fontaine position that there's these weird oral traditions that no one's ever heard of, touched, seen, licked, ever?
I have no answer on whose other position. My position is this, okay? Here's my position. You can giggle away, boy. You can giggle away, but you're getting baked out here, okay? This is your claim. Understand that through your thick head. It's your claim, not mine. I'm not saying the Quran admits to editing. I'm saying the Quran contradicts the previous scriptures while claiming to confirm them. The contradiction is the problem. It is the Islamic dilemma, checkmate. But you're desperate to try to get me to say there was an edit consciously made. So you can repeat this till Sunday, dude. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
You're getting baked on this,
okay, I have another question. So can you find me any tradition? Yo, get your dog to settle down, man. Your dog knows you're getting baked. That's why he thinks you're in trouble. He thinks you're in trouble. He thinks you're in trouble.
Your time is running, bro. Your time is running, guys. All right, settle down.
I'm asking my question.
Reset.
All right, so hey, we're gonna reset the time. I muted both of you guys up. This is not time to get personal. We need to keep it academic. Let's not address things that are outside of this debate, please. We're gonna respect each other for the rest of the debate. Let's not get personal here. You guys can take shots here and there. You know, this is a boxing match. I agree. If you guys want to take shots here and there, but we're not gonna get personal. We're gonna continue the debate. Dean, your job only right now is to ask questions. Jay, you have 15 minutes to respond. That is it.
15 seconds, Darren.
Or
15 seconds.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, 15 seconds to respond.
Yeah, good.
So we're gonna get back to the debate. Dean, ask a question.
Ask your question.
Don't make a statement that's not relevant to the conversation. You can make a statement if it leads to a question, but that's about it. You as well, Jake.
Okay. All right. So, is there any tradition that you know of that says Sammy made the golden calf and not Aaron? Just yes or no.
We're not discussing traditions. If you want to have a conversation with me about traditions, that's a secondary debate.
Just say yes or no.
Come back to the conscious edits. Why are you taking me to the Bible constantly? Why aren't you answering a simple question I've posed to you over and over again?
Yeah. Okay. So he didn't answer the question, Darren.
Whatever Islam says,
Darren, he's not answering the question.
That was his response. But Jay,
Okay, I'm going to ask you another one.
But
I'm going to ask you another one. Do you have a tradition that says that Moses didn't intentionally unalive the man within the Exodus? Do you have a tradition that says that?
Bro, the debate is Islamic dilemma.
It's just yes or no. He's not answering.
And general confirmation. Why are you asking me things that have nothing to do with the debate? It is not for me to come here and tell you about traditions or not. I am telling you very clearly.
Yeah. Okay, pause time.
I've answered you. Okay, I've answered you.
Here's the deal.
You cannot accept it. That's not my problem.
You have to ask questions related to the topic. If he
he's not.
I think he's not related to the topic.
I'll clarify why.
No, it's not related to the topic.
Okay, I don't need help, Jay. I got it. Go ahead. Say what you want to say, Dean, and then I'll respond.
Yeah. So Darren, it is very. How am I supposed to? I can't explain on my time in the questions why I believe it's relevant. I can't do that, and but obviously it is relevant because my point is he's positing conspiracy oral traditions and texts rather than taking the more simpler explanation, which is the author is bringing innovative new traditions from his own mind. That is, obviously we believe it's God, to edit the text. That's a much more simple explanation. I'm trying to get him to concede.
I mean, I can't lie. I'm not trying to be like biased or anything, but Dean has a right to ask about the traditions that are in question.
Yeah,
come on, let's go.
Well, I agree. If it's leading to a particular purpose, I would agree with that, Jay.
So Jay, try and give a yes or no. Try and give a yes or no, and then expand. Especially if he's asking for a yes or no.
I agree, but we do have to make sure that it actually leads to the actual answer to the questions that are being posed as far as
so Dean, try and re-ask your question. Jay, try and answer with a yes or no, and then expand.
Hey, I already answered it. I don't need a re-ask.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, fine. I'll give another one.
I answered it 3 times. What my traditions are is not a conversation for right now. We're talking about the Islamic dilemma, and we're talking about proving his conscious edits. Nowhere, as I repeatedly says, that when a guy is so vocal, which he's agreed to, and he said it was a pattern.
Okay. It's my time. It's my time to question.
Let's get back to the debate.
Okay. Let me ask the question.
However Jay answers the question, guys, it's gonna be how he answers.
I got you.
But Jay, please try to be at least close to the answers. Go ahead. We'll give it back to you.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, you can start the time. So I'm gonna ask very simply because he seems like he's slow. So the point: what is more simple for you? The fact that you don't have these traditions, we don't have any evidence for these traditions. Therefore, the author of the Quran is giving innovative views and is contradicting the Bible, or is it the case that there is these traditions, but we just don't have them? Which is more simple?
The madrasa education strikes back again. 100 times you'll ask me these questions. The tradition is not important. I told you that there is evidence of the same author being very vocal when he has to say something against or for anything to have to do with the previous scriptures. 142 verses, man. That's fine. But he didn't say one word about
appreciate it. Okay.
Intentional conscious edit on your side.
I got you. So, he's not answering. So, anyways, we'll continue on.
Yeah,
so,
he doesn't know,
the point is, Matthew 23. I gave you. Should you disagree with Hilary of Poitiers on his interpretation of Matthew 23?
Great. I don't care about one scholar versus another scholar.
It's a yes or no, dude. Answer the question.
You gotta let him respond.
No, I'll respond in the way I want to.
Yeah, you can respond.
You're not going to put me into a false dichotomy.
Okay, go ahead. You're wasting time, Jay.
And I've talked about right. I've told you there are several scholars on the other side of the line, so as to speak, who sit down and go with my version of it. So I don't care about the Bible. Look, he's already breaking the internal critique laws.
Okay, done. All right, time. All right. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you not directly answering anything. So the point is, I will continue on from here. When Jesus says, do everything they teach, within the interpretation of Hilary of Poitiers, as well as John Chrysostom, the early church fathers, if someone holds to their interpretations, is Jesus doing a general confirmation of the Pharisees' teachings? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so you clearly don't understand Hilary of Poitiers. So I'm going to pull up the quote right now for you. And in the meantime, I'll ask you some more questions.
This is a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up and ask a question. Relax.
Okay. Yeah, so the point is,
no, that's his time.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Just continue it.
He decides to pull it up. Okay.
Bro, it's all good. Just keep the time going. Yeah. The question is this. Do you think that the Quran needs to explicitly state every single doctrine in order for that doctrine to be valid?
Right. When the Quran makes it very, very obvious that in 142 verses, which you have agreed is a pattern over and over again, expressing on the very subject matter that we are discussing, then I expect that the same author doesn't become into a mute guy and suddenly doesn't want to say anything. How can he on one side, again, 142 verses, man, say this over and over again, talk about the previous scriptures in and around the realm of our conversation, but he's mute on your claim. You made an ad hoc claim.
Okay, so here's the quote from Hillary. Let's pull it up. So my question is, when he says, therefore, this proves their teachings have remained in later generations, namely the teachings received from the writer of the law himself and preserved in his office, is he talking about the oral traditions passed down from the time of the Septuagint?
Again, in that verse, there is no general confirmation. The word in Greek is to recite. It's not getting to your head. This has been done to you on several panels, and you're just trying to play these games with me again. I will show people videos of this man doing this over and over again, and people walking him through Greek. He even spoke to a Greek scholar or someone who knows Greek extremely well, got baked on this verse on it, but he keeps on doing this stuff. Again, there is no general confirmation. He's sitting down and saying he's recite. That's it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. But that's not the question. The question is, because you said before, Hilary of Poiters taking his interpretation doesn't mean there's a general confirmation of the oral traditions. Now, I'm asking you to answer directly, the same way I answered you directly, on the point about traditions being preserved. Is he talking about the oral traditions? Yes or no? Answer directly.
Okay. Again, you didn't pay attention to my answer. I told you I do not agree with him. I've got scholars who say otherwise. I told you the Greek word is to recite, but you keep going down to that one document. And you do this in every other live I've seen you doing it, and they laugh your ass at yourself, dude. Okay? So listen to me again. I don't care about your scholar. I have scholars who sit down and...
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Laugh at the ass. Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Why
So yeah, I appreciate it. So the question is, the question is, on the, you actually contradicted yourself at this point. You said you disagree because you know what's going to entail from Hillary. So anyways, we'll take it back. No problem. We'll take it back to another point. Does the author of the Quran know the gospel well based on what I showed you before? Based on what I showed you before with Surah Al-Hadid. I don't know why you're interrupting me. You should stop talking.
Sorry, go ahead.
Surah Al-Hadid, as well as 48:29, when it mentions the contents of the Injil, as well as many other instances. Do you believe the author of the Quran knows what's in the Gospels?
What are you talking about, 48:29?
Oh my God, you don't even know the references. When he mentions the seed parable, I'm answering your question. I'll help you.
Okay.
There's only so many times the Quran talks about the concept of the Injil. You don't even know. 48:29 talks about the seed parable. I mentioned it in my introductory statement. I showed you it. So when it mentions that, as well as it mentions Surah Al-Hadid, the parables of Matthew 25, as well as when it mentions other stuff found in the Injil and the Quran, does that show you that the author knows the contents of the Injil?
Absolutely not. And I'm telling you, he has no access to the previous scriptures. Hear me loud and clear. Okay, he's an illiterate. If you want me to get deeper into saying how much he has no knowledge, I'll go deeper into using other choice words. But he's an illiterate person who's never had access to the scriptures, doesn't know anything at all.
Okay. So last question, yeah. So how does he know that the seed parable is in the Injil when he says it's in the Injil in 48:29? Answer that question directly.
Great. As I said, it could be things that somebody else is just sitting down and talking all over the place out there. Heard it from somebody else, put it in there. Again, why are you so slow, dudes? Don't you understand? He doesn't know. You think he's not getting it from somebody else? All right, that's what he is. It's a generic agricultural image. Okay, that's what it is. So please, stop, begging me to sit down and say that he knows the scriptures.
That's time, Jay.
All right, so now we're gonna move into 7-minute closing. Jay, you're gonna go.
Just get it up.
I believe you were first, so let me shrink Dean's.
Wait, do I not close last because I went first on the opening?
Is that how you guys?
That's how it's usually. That's how it's usually.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
All right,
I'm okay with that.
Okay, go ahead.
Sounds
All
good.
right, go ahead.
All right. 7 minutes.
So how long is this, Leafy?
Yeah, Dean, wait for Leafy to put the time on the clock, and then we'll get you guys going. Last thing I want to say, Chad,
7 minutes.
Yeah, for some reason I don't know why my I can't type anything in the comments. I've been trying for like the last 15 minutes. But make sure you guys are being respectful in the chat. Moderators, you're gonna have to take over from here. I've muted several people so far, Christians and Muslims. Just make sure you guys keep doing so as we finish out this debate. So go ahead, Dean, you're up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, I mean, yeah, he just conceded that the author knows traditions that are in the gospel based on learning it orally, right? I mean, that's pretty sophisticated knowledge, even if it's just orally. That means he does know the contents of the Injil. That means he does. But I mean, I would posit that him knowing the contents of the Injil is more than just oral, based on the fact that there's so much, as well as the understanding of it is so sophisticated to the point where he can intertwine it within the Arabic language in a very eloquent manner. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is with Matthew 23, with Hilary of Poitiers, I asked him, if you take Hilary's interpretation, does that mean Jesus is doing a general confirmation on the oral laws? He said, no, that's not the case. As soon as I pull up the quote, he ran away. He ran away from standing on business and saying that, yeah, Hilary is saying that, he isn't saying, sorry, that the oral traditions are being generally confirmed, okay? So he actually ran away on that point, and everyone saw that. So the last point is just very clear. He would not answer on the conscious edits point. There's two explanations at this point. You can say the author of the Quran's hearing the traditions orally, and that these traditions just so happen to contradict with the Bible or whatever it might be. Okay, that's one possibility. Or it is that the author is bringing innovative ideas and is editing it. Now, if you believe it's Allah or we're not, that's independent of what we're talking about here. We're just talking about, is it intentional? Is he bringing innovative ideas, new ideas to the table? He's not just taking from old traditions. That is more likely, that is more simple, if you're using Occam's razor here. It is more simple, more parsimonious with the data that he is actually just giving us new information, not just taking from old traditions. You're pausing the John Fontaine position. You guys would want to laugh at John Fontaine's position. The conscious edits position puts you into a corner where you have to posit the John Fontaine position. There is conspiracy oral traditions that the Prophet ﷺ is hearing in order for him to have these differences with the Bible. Can you show me those traditions? Can you show me anyone talking about those traditions? Any manuscripts? Anyone talking about it? Any precedents that somebody made the golden calf? Any precedents that Moses didn't intentionally murder the man? Any precedents that God wasn't angry at Moses? Any precedents that Moses did the miracles and not Aaron? Any precedents for any of these things? You cannot show. This is something you must look into when you're looking to rebut the conscious edits point. And there's only so many of the conscious edits that you can say aligns with the Midrash or whatever, right? There's only so many that you can bring up that you can say, oh, it aligns with the Midrash. And even those that you think align with the Midrash, there is still differences between them. You gotta find me a Midrash that says Moses' hand was not leprous, right? That is a clear polemic. That's a clear polemic, clear response. The author knows a tradition is saying that Moses' hand is leprous, and he knows that he disagrees with that tradition and is opposing it. That's clearly conscious, right? The fact that you just keep saying, I don't believe it's conscious, I don't believe it's conscious, I don't believe it's conscious, doesn't give you justification to not believe it's not conscious. I give you justification it's conscious based upon the thematic precedents in the Quran. Prophets are noble. Prophets don't commit major sins. Prophets are dignified. Therefore, these edits they have precedence for it. Even other ones I didn't list. Anthropomorphic language within the Old Testament. And the idea that God was refreshed, right? In Exodus, nafash in the Hebrew. That term is always used to mean something along the lines of actually rejuvenating. You have it in the Hebrew Bible. It's never meant to mean in some metaphoric way. So the author understands the text, is editing it, is changing it, and at that point, you didn't give any justification why it is otherwise. You didn't give anything. Really, you didn't give anything to the table. You just said, I don't believe it's conscious, with no reason. You just assumed some conspiracy oral traditions or conspiracy written traditions that no one's heard, seen, touched, licked, anything. No one's ever seen or heard any of these traditions. And yet you're positing them. Because actually you're the one that's positing something ad hoc. It is more parsimonious to the data that the author of the Quran just chooses to oppose traditions that he knows could possibly be found in the Bible. Okay, so the point of the matter is the Islamic dilemma is nothing more than a Christian's, dream. This is, we need something like, there's no Trinity in the Bible. That's a dilemma. There's no human nature point in the Bible. That's a dilemma. No one believed the Trinity for the early generations. That's a dilemma. And yet, what we have is no dilemma in the Quran. The Quran's doctrines are so clearly expressed. The author of the Quran shows us that not everything within the previous scriptures is preserved by his intentions. You cannot show the intentions of the authors of the Gospels intend a Trinity. You cannot show that. So don't have some double standards now when I'm not even holding to that lowly standard. I believe you can show from the author's intentions that the previous scriptures is not fully preserved by the fact that he's comfortable with the possibility to alter what could be in the texts. You didn't give any rebuttal to that. Nothing. Zilch. Nothing at all. So I guess I'll just stop it here, I guess. There is verses in the Quran that you can use to prove textual distortion, but there's a reason why I didn't mention this during the debate. I want everyone to take note of this. I did not mention 279 or يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه. I didn't mention these verses, 513 and 279. I didn't mention these two verses due to the fact that I know he's going to run away from the conscious edit's point and try to say, no, it's ambiguous, it's ambiguous, it's ambiguous. Of course you're going to think it's ambiguous, 279 and 513, as well as other possible verses, because of the fact that you can ambiguate any verse if you're a Christian. You can ambiguate Jesus saying he doesn't know the hour, therefore he's talking about declaring and you jump through hoops. If you can do that with the text of the Gospels, then of course you can do that with the Quran. That's why I'm not holding you to any exegesis like that. I'm making this conceptual. I'm taking it from the roots. And you failed miserably and showed us exactly why no one is choosing to take this debate with me, because they saw Chris get absolutely baked on the debate. And people are ghosting me, telling me I don't want to do it on this platform and blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, Mr. J here chooses to take the Islamic dilemma and actually shows everyone why it is such a terrible argument. So thank you for that, Mr. J.
Beautiful. Time. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate you, my brother. We're going to go ahead and get Jay in the box. We're going to put 7 minutes on the clock. Thank you for keeping a respectful chat. And Jay, when you're ready, time is on you, my brother.
Yeah. So guys, this is why he got absolutely trashed. He came in with a one-trick pony. Conscious edits. And he agreed to this. It's all taped. He agreed that the pattern, the same author that I say it cannot be a conscious edit because the author doesn't say it. If he intends to do a conscious edit, he would say, hey, I'm changing this because of this and this. It's just done, according to him. He says it's just done. He's just going to be quiet. And I said, no, the author does not know any of the previous scriptures. He lied and he said that I said the author knew the previous scriptures. How many times on Sunday did I keep on saying that he didn't know diddly squat? He didn't know diddly squat of the previous scriptures. And he had to force that in here. This is why the others don't want to come and debate, because you got such slow tier arguments. He says he ran away from 279 and 513 because he knows I will bake him on that, including in his Arabic. Okay? On 279. All right? He starts crying about Hillary and Deen sitting under a tree, KIS and ING, whatever the hell. I told him that scholar. I've got other scholars who refute his scholars. Why is his scholar better than my scholar? Okay? Then he gives me, he's so generous. He gives me two options. He says, you could have agreed, everybody take notes. The Deen way, the ad hoc way. That you could have said he just orally edited or he was innovatingly editing things. Then he says, I went with John Fontaine's position, not even close to it. That doofus talks about a magically appearing Torah in and out and all that other stuff. Okay? And I gave you my position was clear. Guys, why can it not be a conscious edit? For it to be conscious, the author should be telling us, hey, I'm coming in and changing these things. This is like a guy who you've taken your car to fix a light inside your car and a mechanic. The mechanic returns your car with just 4 wheels and gives you a big bill and doesn't say anything why he did that. This is literally what he wants us to believe. The guy wiped out our traditions, wiped out major theological traditions, and didn't say a word. Why? Because Deen figures that that's good enough. I challenged him and he agreed to. Remember what he said? I said, is that a pattern? So it's a pattern on the other side. He's used to talking about these things. He's openly talking about it, but he's mute on here. Get out of here, man. What the hell are you talking about? Now, let's do this. My opponent built his case on a loop. He even agreed the Quran confirms the Bible. How many days did Sunday he kept on saying, whatever Islam says is true, whatever disagrees with Islam is corrupt? How many times did he say that? 8 times on my question and answers. This is supposed to be their best guy? This is the dude who came up with this 2025 conscious ed is garbage? The Bible, his case is this: the Quran confirms the Bible. The Bible parts that agree with the Quran prove the Quran. The parts that disagree are corrupted. That's not revelation, that's tautology. The Quran is true because the Quran says it's true. His system destroys the Quran's credibility. If confirm means agree with me, Deen, then Quran reveals nothing new and corrects nothing real. It becomes a self-attesting echo chamber. He invoked modern scholarship until I contradicted him. He appealed to historical probability till it disfavored him. He didn't bring up nickel silide, but he ignored that. He brought in Q and all that other stuff till I told him, hey, did they have a Q manuscript for the Jews and Christians during the 7th century to see what the hell was going on? This is not, he appealed to Jesus. Come, Jesus, please help me. Please help me. Daddy Bible, let me go there. But dismissed every historically verified saying thing that disapproves Islam. This is not consistency. It's ad hoc theology. Bring back the historical Jesus. Every strand of serious scholarship, critical, skeptical, conservative, agrees on one immovable fact. And this is just, I'm having a conversation with you, Chad. It's not to him. He's already lost. He already agreed that I had a pattern on my side. He has diddly squat. Jesus was crucified. That fact, everybody understands that. Let's have some fun with it, guys. The Quran alone denies the crucifixion and then claims God deceived the world and then produced what? The most successful religion in the history, i.e. Christianity, creating a Christian majority countries that lead in IQ. Andrew Wilson, you're spot on, baby. GDP, military strength over the Muslims, and are the ones protecting Islam's own holy lands with their bases from other Muslims. Hurrah, United States military base in your holy land. In that narrative, God effectively made Muslims dhimmis under the Christians, dependent on the mercy of the very Christian civilization Islam calls misguided with corrupted books. If your confirmation model forces you to reject the best tested event in the first century, the problem isn't the evidence, it's your premise. And now I'm going to show you some things out here. I'm going to sit down and show you real quick these videos here. Here is Mr. Deen agreeing to that he's doing all circular stuff. Should have prepared for this. Let me see this. Hold on.
Quran. Your theory does not allow that, because by definition, anything that disagrees with the Quran is being corrected by the Quran.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but the point.
Yes, exactly. Okay, this is when their top Dawa guys are all around at a table and they get busted saying what? Guess what? They said 70% of their scholars agree with us that it's not corrupted. Listen to this.
Percent of
It's a Dawa clinic.
It's not corrupted.
So notice what the scholars are not saying though. This
Well, the book. What book? What book are we the people of?
Hold
and
on.
watch his reasoning for
Of the canvas.
I have a comment too.
And give substantial evidence for that, from our literature.
From
the
our
whole
literature.
dilemma goes out the window. Halas. That's it. We stop right there, right? Now, whether or not it was corrupted or it was intact or partially intact, that's a nuanced topic with opinions varying among scholars, From the research that I have done over the past, year or so with different brothers, I'm leaning more towards, I would say 70% of the scholars leaning more towards it not being corrupted, right?
What? 70% of the scholars leading not to be corrupted. Farid responds. John Fontaine, all the big Dawa guys. Look what they're calling it, a Dawa clinic of Islamic dilemma. They are telling us that 70% of their own scholars, he spent a year and a half researching it. All the big boys. And they said it's not corrupted, but these guys want to do it with 30%. So ladies and gentlemen, woe to Deen. Woe to Deen for sitting down and corrupting his words and Allah's words with his own hands.
That's time, Jay.
Woe to him
That's time.
because he
That's
wanted to
time.
make money
Jay,
over it.
Jay,
And
Jay,
woe
that's
to all
time.
his
That's
subscribers
time.
too.
Jay, that's time,
Okay?
bro. That's time.
Don't
That's
worry
time.
about me, bro.
Thank you so much. So appreciate it. So now we're gonna move into the next phase of our segment, which is Q&A. What time? How much time do we have on that, you guys? I think it's 3. Oh, actually, yeah. So are we doing 3?
I just said 3 and 3.
Did you guys want 3
Yeah, I
people
thought
apiece or
questions,
5
yeah.
people apiece?
Yes, so 3 questions each, yeah.
Okay, so you guys are gonna be able to choose your own. Leafy, if you'd like to call out the ones on the Islamic side, I'll call out the ones.
Am I allowed to ask a question because I'm already up here or no?
That's up to Dean. He has to choose the people he would love to
No,
answer.
moderators don't. Moderators don't. Like, get other people.
Oh no. Yeah, no worries then.
You know what?
You're
I
good,
don't
bro.
even care.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
get
even
people
care.
outside of the debate, Leafy.
Yeah,
If you don't mind.
No,
Hey,
that's fine. If you don't want me to, I
hey,
don't mind.
Leafy, before you ask me a question,
Oh, hold on.
I thought he was going
I'm
to come
not.
to me with the 279 and
I'm
513.
not.
What happened, bro?
Wait,
I'm not
Jay,
asking you a question, bro.
Hey, just keep it. We're gonna keep it legit real quick. Don't ask anybody any questions. We're gonna bring 3 Christians, 3 Muslims. Are we bringing up Leafy? Are we bringing
Hey,
up a Christian first or
I
Muslim
can't see
first?
anybody, by the way. I can't
Yeah,
see because you took that long
I'll
to
call
do
it out,
that.
Jay. I'll call it out when it's Christian.
Jay. So just pick who you want to come up and ask questions.
All right. So I'll name who we have. Jay, we have King Sylv, we have Banku, we have Chris, Claus, we have Yus. Let me see. Just naming out the people. We got Dywell. Let's see.
All right, let's get Chris,
That's a
King Sylv,
long list.
Chris,
Okay.
King Sylv, and who else?
Dywell, yes, Chris Claus, Banku. So we'll bring up King Sylv first. We'll do one at a time.
Let's split them up first, then just in case.
All right.
Otherwise, Dywell could be the third one.
I got you.
God bless. God bless. Great job, Jay. Amazing job, brother. I have a clarifying question, then I'll ask my question. In response, clarifying question real quick. Would you consider the first best 3 generations would be Ahlul Salaf?
Yes, would you consider Ankabut about?
All right, beautiful. Awesome. Thank you for answering that question. Now, here's my question. And just so I could add at top of my question, if you're going to bring the hadith of Ibn Abbas, right, then you're being dishonest because Al-Bukhari tells us what Ibn Abbas meant. But here's my question. Do you have any of the 3 best first 3 generations of Ahlul Salaf that says that the Injil and the Torah has been corrupted? Or, that you have to do conscious edits or general confirmation?
Yeah, I got you. Give me a sec, so I'll pull up the reference for you, just so everyone can have it. 1 second. Be honest, so did you mix up Spider-Man with Batman? Oh, he left. Well,
No, I dropped them. The moment they asked their question,
okay,
just to keep everything respectful in the chat, we just drop them down. The moment they asked.
I got you. So just give me a second to pull up the reference. 1 second.
No spamming in the chat, you guys. If you guys can, please, no spamming. Thank you.
All right. So you guys can actually check this Christian. Here we go. So this Christian YouTuber. So just make me a big screen if you don't mind. So he actually puts the source for us. This is Captain Christianity. So this is Cameron Betiza. So he says in this reference in the 700s. He says this is. So this is within the Salaf. So this Christian early on. I'm not even just giving you from our Islamic sources. I'm showing you a Christian speaking to a Muslim who believes in Tahrif al-Lafz. He believes in textual distortion of the gospel. Okay, so look what he says. This Christian says, in response to Muslims claiming distortion of the gospel, but at which time, I ask again, who, why, and which words? If they should say that it happened before the coming of the Prophet. See, he said that it was spoken to him that he should come to those who hold the scripture. And then he quotes 1094. So I'm not going to take too much time. The point is that this Christian Cameron actually proved for us that early Muslims believed in tahrif. They believed in textual distortion of the gospel. So you can check out his video for the source for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, Leafy, it's on you.
Yeah, I'm not asking questions. I'm just gonna raise other people because he said he doesn't want me to.
Gotta let him know who's
I'll get Basil to come up and he can ask a question.
Yo, assalamu alaikum, Deen and Leafy. I have a clarifying question for Jay, and then I'm gonna show my source on the screen. So J49er, did you say that in the Quran, it doesn't say that the author of the Quran intends to correct with the children of the Jews and the Christians? That's my clarifying question.
Does it say in the Quran? I said in the Quran, it doesn't say the previous scriptures were corrupted.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, does it in the Quran say that the author intends to correct the Jews and the Christians? Yes or no? Or intends to correct traditions?
The revelation that the author intends to correct them?
Yeah. Does the author
Yeah.
say that he intends to correct?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they don't follow this, if they don't follow the scripture, but he doesn't intend to actually correct the revelation itself, the scripture. The
Okay.
scriptures
Can I get
itself.
big screen, please? Can I get big screen?
Yeah, go
This
ahead.
is my clarifying, by the way, and I'll show the source on screen.
Hold on, boss.
Are you bringing me the Quran?
Yeah,
What
I'm bringing
verse?
you the
Chapter and
Quran.
verse.
Yeah, just one
Give me the
question.
chapter and
So
verse.
No problem, no problem. So when it says right here, إن هذا القرآن يقص على بني
La la
إسرائيل
la la
أكثر
la la
الذي
la
هم.
la 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 la.
Hey, bro.
I don't
All right,
understand
fine. I'll read
Arabic.
it for
Just
you.
speak it in
It
English.
says, yeah.
let
It
him
says,
answer your question.
indeed, this Quran clarifies for the children of Israel most of what they differ over. So my question is, if the children of Israel disagree over something like Aaron building the golden calf, let's say one sect says that he didn't, and the other sect says that he did, where are they supposed to go to clarify their doubt? That's my question.
Okay.
Beautiful.
You
Thank
know,
you.
you should thank yourself why you ran for me on the debate and you never showed up. This is what you're asking me? You brought me that verse? That verse says that the previous scriptures are corrupted? You were telling me you're going to bring me a verse that is going to show that the author of the Quran is telling people that I intend to sit down and show corruption in the previous scriptures. Get out of here. That's not even the verse. Get out of here.
Right.
Hey, he had a debate with me 2.5 weeks ago. He never showed up on that day.
Wait, just to answer to the
Derek
question,
knows
Jay.
it.
Jay, just answer to the question only. But thank you so much.
I answered him.
I got you, but
it doesn't even show anything. That has nothing to do with
Okay.
the author of the Quran saying that the previous scriptures are corrupted.
Right.
Absolute
Okay.
nonsense, dude.
So you got again.
Hey,
You got
Mekera Bapu,
my brother,
Pakistani.
JJ. You got
Yeah, go ahead.
Banku. You
Go
got
ahead.
Yes. You got the Resurrection. Chris Claus. It's
Right.
a long list, so I gotta go down.
Let me get
I will.
Baku, and then I'll reserve the Chris Cross for the finale.
Okay, got you.
All right. God bless you guys.
Blessings.
All right, so this is my question for Dean. This time I wrote it down, right? I took advice. All right, so with zero surah stating that the Torah and Injil was textually corrupted, how can you objectively prove conscious correction or edits rather than borrowing or misunderstanding when the Quran takes from Talmud, Midrash, Apocrypha, and late rabbinic folklore, such as the story of Solomon, which is the commandment of demons for the Talmudic legends, or Cain, which learned the burial from birds, which is a Jewish folklore, not Torah, in Surah 531, and without any earlier written revelations or older, more authentic traditions to prove this case. And if you need me to restate it, let me know before I drop.
No, I got you. I understood your question. Appreciate it. So the point is that there's an assumption here that these oral traditions or these apocryphal texts inherently are going to have less accurate information, which is just wrong. We have Jude quoting First Enoch. We have Jude, not just Jude, sorry, even I think Second or First Timothy also there's a case to be made quoting First Enoch. I had a recent video showing there's a case to be made that Paul is quoting from an apocryphal text where he says, no eyes have ever seen, no ears have ever heard, what God has prepared for those who love him. So you have all this precedence within the New Testament itself that it is taking from these traditions. Even early church fathers, you can check out the video on live on the Be Honest channel, showing almost all the early church fathers didn't believe all of the oral traditions are rubbish. There's precedence in there for it being true. A lot of the early church accepted certain apocryphal texts as being true, such as First Enoch. And the final justification will just be that we have Hilary, like I showed before, where he says that these oral traditions from the Jews were generally confirmed by Jesus, okay, and that these oral traditions aided in the translation of the Septuagint. So that's a reason Hilary's giving as to why the Septuagint is to be taken rather than other recensions. The Septuagint, the Jews who translated it, had oral traditions passed down that would aid them in translating the Hebrew to the Greek. Ambiguous words, unclear words. How do we know the Septuagint has it better? It's because they had these oral traditions that were passed down from Moses. And finally, you don't need an explicit verse to tell you from the Quran that there's conscious edits being made or a general confirmation. Heck, we even have Jewish Christians doing a private general confirmation. I can give you that reference from the Pseudo-Clementine homilies as well, where it says that don't tell the people that the Torah is corrupted, even though we believe there's corruptions, because it may confuse the masses. So if they have a wisdom, right, such as that, I'm not saying that's necessarily the wisdom in the Quran, but I'm just telling you that people believe in the distortion of the Torah without having anything explicit saying that, due to independent reasons they can establish.
All right, you got
5 seconds, as well as certain quotes they would interpret as so. They have quotes from the Gospels of Jesus where they interpret that as obviously distortion of the Torah.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right, Leafy, you're up. If you want to bring up the next person.
Yeah, so Juan Asafa said he wanted to ask a question, so he can come up and ask.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, so
Salam.
I'm making an argument in a form of a syllogism, and I
I don't do
wanna
syllogisms.
share. I'm sorry,
I don't do
Jay,
syllogisms.
you don't do syllogism. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions and then give you a conclusion. Tell me if
Wait,
you
you
agree or
have
not.
You gotta clarify
you're
on
only
the
able to
question.
ask
That's
one
it.
clarifier, one question, my friend.
Okay, it's about the topic. So my question to you, J49er, that according to the Christian reading of the Quran confirms the Bible. You agree?
Yep.
Okay. Premise two, according to the Christian worldview, the Quran is from Satan. Do you agree?
I'm doing an internal critique.
Yeah, but do you agree on this premise?
I'm doing an internal critique. I have no comment about your silly questions about Satan and if Satan did it and all that. I've heard you come up with that stupid question somewhere else. I'm doing an internal critique on Islamic dilemma. If you got some problems with Satan, bro, I suggest you come to Christianity. It'll all be taken care of.
Okay, no
Leave
problem.
Islam.
Now,
Okay?
premise
Thank
three.
you.
Just one.
No, it's done.
You
It's finished.
only get one question,
Your
my
question
friend.
is
One
finished.
qualifier, one question. I'm sorry, guys. Next person. All right.
Bro came up with Satan question.
Okay, J. You said Chris Claus, right? We're just gonna stick to this.
Yeah.
Please. Thank you. You didn't want to answer the question, so we're gonna leave it alone. All right, Chris Claus, welcome to the building, my friend.
God bless everyone. I think it's a very well debated. I want to thank J49er and Dean Response for doing the debate. Also, Leafy for moderating, and Darren, you as well for moderating. I think it's been a wonderful debate this afternoon. My question goes to Dean. You used the general confirmation. Instead of giving us an example of general confirmation, I would love a definition of general confirmation that does not mean confirmation bias.
Wait, is this a qualifier first, Chris, before he answers that, or is it your actual question? Just so we're clear.
No qualifier, just a straight up
perfect.
question.
Okay.
I just need to know the definition without confirmation bias. That's all.
Sounds good. Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. So obviously, for a Muslim's epistemology, how someone determines what is true and what is false. Obviously, the highest epistemic source is going to be the Quran and the Sunnah, right? But that is not inherently circular or having confirmation bias or whatever. If you have independent reasons to believe Islam is true. So I'll give you an example. We have within the Bible, it could confirm certain historical events, even though it might have some issues with it, such as 600,000 at the time of the Exodus, 600,000 men, excluding women and children. Zero evidence of that at all. But you're still going to believe it as a believing Christian or a Jew or whatever, because of the fact that you believe you have independent reasons to believe the Bible is true. That doesn't mean you have confirmation bias. It just means that you're consistent within your epistemic framework. You have to assess the evidences at your disposal. Now, the general confirmation, I defined it in the introductory statement already. It's going to be the majority of the major themes within the previous scriptures, common between the Torah and the Gospel. Most of them are going to be affirmed by the Quran.
Awesome. All right, Leafy, last question.
Yeah, so I'll get Ahad Apologetics to come up and ask questions.
Good.
Wait, how many you got?
That's the last one, Jay.
This is the last one.
Oh, okay.
This is the last one, yeah.
Okay.
One qualifier,
Hello.
one question, brother.
So I have a clarifier. If the companions of the Prophet, if the Prophet taught that the previous scriptures have been corrupted, even though it's not written explicitly in the Quran, does that hold any value against your argument?
If the Prophet said it?
If we know that the Prophet taught the previous scriptures to be corrupted, does that hold any value? That's my clarifier.
So, okay, it depends if I can verify it, but I take Allah first.
Oh, no,
if he goes against Allah, then it doesn't. Then this value is nothing.
Okay.
He'll inherently go against Allah.
So according to the hadith of Uthman burning the Quran, we find clearly that the companions of the Prophet, they say that the Christians and the Jews have differed upon their scripture. From this, we can infer that the Prophet Muhammad told this because his own companions made this statement. So what's your response to that?
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, he went and bought an hadith, which is talking about how Uthman came about and compiled it, a hadith which actually proves that all their Quran is corrupted, because there were so many Qurans running around at that point. When that comment comes in, it only says they differed just like the Jews and the Christians did. That means he's already agreeing according to his paradigm. He's saying that his books were corrupted. There were too many books out there. But what the Jews and Christians were doing, it doesn't really tell you specifically. What I would infer from it, again, that's just my personal opinion, is that they were discussing which books need to be in there. Maybe the Jews wanted to add the Talmud. Maybe they wanted to add all that. That's just speculation on my behalf. But the hadith doesn't say that. But I'm thanking you for bringing up a hadith that shows that the Quran is corrupted, including that you guys, Uthman burned the original Quran. You don't even have the original Quran. You don't even have Uthman's Quran. So thank you for bringing up that and ending this debate by proving Quran is corrupted. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys, man. Hey, that concludes our debate, you guys. Let me just say thank you, Leafy, for helping me moderate this and helping to keep time. Jay, appreciate you for coming. Dean, definitely thank you for coming, my brother. And I appreciate you guys for getting in the box and doing this on a professional level. And it's just, dude, I'm excited. But much respect to both of you guys. And yeah, much love. Hopefully we can all continue to keep the spirit of the debate and, let us argue the doctrine, but stay less, let's not be personal with it. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You're
So,
good,
so
man.
actually, I have a question, right? Just off topic. This is merely like with you hosting debates and so on. I have a question like directly for you.
Yeah.
Off topic. So why? So I wanted to ask, why is it the fact that because these were people are DMing me while I've been debating. I didn't know there was like a whole thing going on. So my question is, but just before I just have one question. It's just on the matter of why can't it be that we can have a debate on your panel than have one on a Muslim's panel? Are you objected to that?
Well, I'm not. I don't object to anybody doing anything on anyone's panel. I don't control anyone but myself. The thing is, Dean, most Christians are not willing to debate on Muslim platforms for the reason that,
Why is that?
because of the chat. We get blasphemed 99% of the time, and it's not a place. It's not a place. I'm just talking generally, right? Like, for me, like I go on Muslim platforms, I stopped doing it because of the chat. It's just really hostile towards us. We get called a lot of things. Our God gets called 3-in-1 shampoo and all kind of craziness. But in my chat, we're not allowed to do that. Christians are not allowed to do it. Muslims are not allowed to do it. We don't let anyone.
But Darren, it's not impossible to have a Muslim that can moderate like how you moderate.
Oh, bro, I don't control nobody. I'm not opposed to Christians doing anything on anyone's panel. If people wanted to go to your panel and do it, I'll be over there watching. If people wanted to do on Leafy's panel, I'll be over there watching. I don't know why.
So I'll give you an example. If I decide, I'm going to debate on your platform on the condition that we debate on Leafy's platform and you co-host, you objected to that or no?
Like I said, I'm not objective to anything. I'm cool with whatever. It's just you would have to convince the Christians that are debating to be able to. This is personal for every Christian. I think it's a general consensus among believers, at least the groups that we run with in the apologetic community, that no one wants to go into a panel where they're going to sit here and call our God 3-in-1. You know what I mean? So it's not me. I don't know why everyone thinks it's me. I'm not opposed. If Leafy said, "Hey, bro, I got a debate coming up. Would you come through?" Leafy, would I come through? I will come through. Like I have no problem. But it's getting.
I mean, it's more just getting people. It's more just getting the Christians to come on our panels to begin with.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
So are you like understood? So are you objected to do you believe Libiano is a good moderator, fair moderator?
Look,
No.
I think Libiano's good. I had him up here moderating for me. So he came up one day, he helped me. But then he turned around, like literally not even a couple weeks later, and started telling everybody in his chat how slimy my live is and all this other stuff. So I'm not interested in working with Libiano at this point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. The only thing is, I'm not up to date.
Just to be honest, Dean, just to be honest, between us, I mean, not between us. I mean, we have 900 people watching. I held the highest level of respect for Libiano. I wouldn't even let people come up on my panel and just slander Libiano without him being present. That's how much respect I put on his name. And so for him to turn around in a group of people and tell them that my live is one of the most slimiest lives, I don't have respect for that.
Right. Okay. Understood. So the point is that I think because I'm not active on TikTok a lot. I merely like for me, I'll give you the context behind this. When I actually DM'd Jay about this debate, the context was I was asking people for a debate. All right, I wasn't even exaggerating my introductory statement. I asked many people ghosted. Many people said no, we're not going to do it. But then eventually I was like, okay, whatever. Like Jay didn't want to do it on another platform either. We're going to do it on your platform, no problem. But then I got like now I'm getting a bunch of DMs. Everyone's saying that. We were meant to go on Darren's platform. You shouldn't be going on there.
Yeah. Well, it's a select people that are quote unquote boycotting my live because I've allowed people to come up here and say things, even though it's very hypocritical, to be honest. Because I've been like the only platform that's really been kind of monitoring my chat, making sure people aren't blaspheming. So it is what it is, man. If y'all want to boycott, man. Our numbers exploded. Then boycott really did nothing for us. It actually increased our numbers, and we have 30 Muslims every day trying to get in the box. So I don't understand what the problem is. I really don't understand what the problem is. But again, I
just wanted to understand that. But yeah, I appreciate you moderating and everything.
Yeah,
Okay. Anyways,
no worries. I appreciate you, Dean. Thank you so much.
Yeah, take care, Darren.
Hey, you too.
Thank you for accepting the debate, Dean.
Yeah, you too. All right, man. Hey, so we're gonna have a slight, quick after party, man. I'm gonna let you figure out who you want to bring up. I'm gonna go ahead and mod you back up, but we're gonna keep it respectful and we're gonna keep it in the light of the debate. It's gonna be very quick because I got another debate coming up here in a couple hours, and I want to make sure that it stays respectful. I do gotta drop the live here in about less than 20 minutes because I got things to do before this next debate gets going.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.